All right. We are indeed live once again on a Friday. It is May 20th. It is hot as hell here in Chicago. So much so that the air conditioning is just on full blast right now. But we have an excellent show for you. The weekly Jezcast, where I, Randall Thor, your host, interviews the one and only Jez Corden from Windows Central.
Nah.
That's what it is. So let me welcome my interviewee, or my interviewee for this week, as every week. That's Jez Corden, my buddy, my pal. What's going on, man?
Hey, friendo. Doing pretty good. Rocking and rolling. It's also very warm in South Germany. We're having thunderstorms, the likes of which I've never seen before, which is so very normal. And I don't have air conditioning, though, so I'm rocking a bunch of fans right now, desperately trying to stay cool. My cat's lying down on the cold tiles in the bathroom. Everyone's struggling and suffering, but this is the new normal, apparently. But oh well, at least while we're warm and sweaty in real life, we can have a cool podcast. Am I right?
Yes.
Am I right?
You are right. You definitely are 100% right. There's hopefully everybody's having a better week this week. You know, last week was it was one for the record books.
Yeah, people were a bit salty last week.
You know, I was thinking, I was talking to my bros. I was talking to the one and only Lord Cognito of the Iron Lords podcast, and we were trying to rank last week in the history books, of like where this you would rank, you know, the whole DRM fiasco over the weekend, combined with, you know, Master Cheek sleeping with the Covenant spy, to finally capping off the week with the delays of Redfall and Starfield. And we came to the conclusion that it was the second worst week, or second worst ever in the history of Xbox. Only
second worst,
yeah, the second worst
after 2013,
after 2013's announcement of the DRM and all that stuff.
Nah,
that last week was the second worst week in
worse
the history.
Than Rod?
Worse than what?
Red Ring of Death? Come on.
Red Ring of Death was something that was happening constantly, so you can't really. You know, you're talking about like fixed announcements and fixed points in time, not something that literally happened over the entirety of the Xbox 360 generation. You know. So you don't agree with Lord Cognito? You don't agree that that was number 2?
There's been worse weeks. I even think there's been worse weeks more recently.
Really?
I think Crackdown 3 was pretty bad times when they revealed that.
Yeah,
I think when they revealed Halo Infinite was pretty bad times. There was a lot of drama about Crackdown. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean he actually had the Craig showing as like number 3 as the 3 worst. So his rankings was number 1 the DRM announcement, which, you know, well, we know what happened from that. Number 2 was the whole stuff last week. Number 3 was the Craig reveal. And I think number 4 was the Scalebound cancellation. Which you broke, by the way, I remember.
I did break that.
Windows Central, indeed. So hopefully we got all the bad news behind us. And everything's looking a little bit better. We got the showcase coming up here in a couple weeks. Have you written your article about what people can expect yet from it?
Not yet. I am doing that close to the show, probably next week or the week after, maybe the week after, because there's 3 weeks to go, right? If I remember right.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, there's this week, next week, and the week after. Yeah, there's 3 weeks to go, so that's probably where it's going to fall for me. The week before, I would think. But I don't know. I think like it's shaping up to a point where there's a good amount of guesswork we can put behind what to expect from the show, and I suppose we can talk about it then. But the reason I'm leaving it so late is because what if there's leaks? What if there's some pesky leaks? Or even things that are here, like off the record, behind the scenes, that change my view of what it could be like. You know, you never know. never know what might happen.
You do. You never know. So you're gonna hold off as long as possible. Is basically what you're saying.
Ideally, yes.
But you want to get that sweet Google traffic. You know.
Yeah.
I guess when do people start searching for Xbox Bethesda E3? Now, let me ask you this question: do you call it E3 2022 showcase? Is that what the SEO is for this? Even though it's not technically E3, do you still call it E3 in your article?
Yes, you still call it E3. Google wants it to be called E3, so that's what it'll be called.
Okay.
Probably E3 in quotation marks, probably, most likely. But everyone's calling it E3. They're calling it not E3, I guess.
Yeah, I got to come up with my video as well. I need to sit down at some point. I know Colt just recorded his. He just recorded the voiceover, and he needs to work on filling in the video aspect. But I told Colt, I'm like, I gotta wait. I don't know. It's I don't know what's gonna be there. It's but we'll be talking about at least one rumor of a game that might be there a little bit later on. So yeah, you guys do us a big favor as you're piling into the show. Make sure you hit that like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. And please share this out on social media. Let everybody know that we are live, as YouTube kind of been having issues as of late. I hear if you sort of change your settings and your the description, like the podcast or video goes automatically locked private, which is odd.
What the hell?
Yeah, I
Is
guess.
that a bug?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, it has to be a bug. It has to be. So, yeah, it's crazy. So we do have a lot of stuff here to talk about. So let's dive into it with Jonas, the dad, who has a super chat for us saying he's missing the live show, but he's going to catch us after work. So
beautiful.
Yeah, as
Thanks
long
for
as
joining us,
how's everything doing on the Spotify and iTunes, then, Jez?
Yeah, it's doing good. Trucking along. Lots of reviews that have been coming in since you asked people to drop reviews, and they've been very kind. We appreciate that. Appreciate everyone who tunes in, no matter how you tune in. And this will go live on podcast services as well tomorrow, presumably.
Yes. We will get this up as soon as possible. Whether you're watching live, lurking, or listening to it later, we just like you to enjoy the show, no matter how. Artemis has been a member for 6 months. Says, let's go and have a great show, guys. Shrimp it up. Man, I think Special Nick hates you because you once again created another shrimp meme and tagged him in it. And he doesn't like that whatsoever.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does not.
But, it's just... It's all designed to get him to tell us what it means. Because only he knows. Only he knows what it means. So we got no choice but to behave this way, I'm afraid.
That's right. The Scarecrow, 121, a member for a staggering 27 months. Damn, that's well over 2 years. Thank you for all the support. He says, yeah, up at 5 a.m. Australian time to catch the show live. Damn, 5 o'clock in the morning? Setting your alarm clock to wake up to Rand and Jez? That's...
Bless you.
Yeah, that's blowing my mind right now. George, he says, he wants to know if we're going to be talking about... Oh, see, I just lost it because my chat just reconnected. Oh, here it is. He wants to know if we're going to talk about the Xbox Civil War and the Ambassador fiasco. I mean, I'll just say this. The Civil War thing, I think, was a little bit overblown. Because, look, everybody has different opinions about certain things. Some people are... act more emotionally than others. Everybody kind of maybe position themselves and being like, this is the worst thing ever, or this isn't that serious. And, people on the outside were kind of... They were basically making memes, like the poster from Marvel's Captain America Civil War, right? Where it was like Tony Stark on one side versus Captain America on the other, and they're putting the names and faces of people on each other like it was some fight. There wasn't really a fight. Is that people are passionate about Xbox and they want Xbox to do as good as possible. We've all been basically demanding Xbox, listen, You need more studios. You need to make more games. They've done that, and now even in Phil's tweet, like the consistency is not there, and he promised it would be, but there's only so many times you can essentially apologize and say you'll do better until people basically don't believe you anymore, right? There's only so many times that you can cry wolf before people stop coming to your help. Yeah, you only have so much before people just don't believe a word you say. And for some people, it was this. Some people, this was the straw that broke the camel's back, and they were really, really harsh. And they're like, nope, this is it. I'm done. While other people were like, it sucks. What are you gonna do? So people positioned it as like a civil war. Like friends are, the people are losing friendships. Like people were saying that me and Fonzarelli, because you said you got some DMs about my tweets to Fonzarelli, right?
Yeah.
But
people
like,
thought you were
we were like angry at each other or something. It was just like, no, like it was perfectly fine. It was just conversation. It was just, I would never let something stupid like video games mess up a relationship I have with somebody, like, so it was just, we were just talking and everything was good. But that's not what people want to hear, because people are here for the drama. Right? They want to believe that there's some sort of, animosity between people over, these things, and there's really not.
It's because they had nothing more to talk about. Frankly.
Yeah, is that what you're saying? Nothing more to talk about?
Yeah, I think some people were digging for something to talk about. Kotaku wrote an article about it. News week for them, maybe.
Which I was in. Did you see that? My first article. My first article mentioned, and for a meme that someone sent me, like someone DM'd me, is like, Rand, look at this, it's so funny, and I'm like, and I saw it, and I'm like, damn, that is hilarious. I gotta post this. So I made a tweet about it, and then like, and then I was like browsing the Xbox thread on Resetter, and I saw somebody posted it on there, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if this has originated from here. Because I didn't know where it came from, because somebody was just like, oh, here's this meme, like, isn't this funny? And then I tweeted it out, and then it got a lot of traction because, I mean, there's some truth to it. The first beginning of this year, there was all the concerns and people crying that Xbox was a monopoly. You had people tweeting the president of the United States. Xbox, they got too many games. They're a monopoly. Shut them down. They can't have Activision Blizzard, right? And then last week, Xbox has no games. The future is dead and destroyed. What are we doing? Xbox is over, and it's just like the roller coaster of emotions that have happened this first 5 months, right?
Yeah, it's just funny. It's just funny how narratives shift and chop and change, and I think a lot of it comes from like when some outlets and some commentators see that a fan base is passionate and can criticize their own platform while still enjoying it, they interpret that as a civil war, which is hilarious to me. Xbox fans generally try and demand better. Like there are fanboys out there who refuse to accept anything negative about Xbox, and that same's true for Apple and Google and fanboys of any platform or whatever, people who make it central to their identity. But I think generally speaking, like all Xbox podcasts, all Xbox prominent YouTubers generally demand better of Xbox all the time. And sometimes the fans and the community disagrees with what should be a priority for Microsoft. I personally was in the camp that the delay's fine. I'd rather have a polished game than a rushed out game. And some people were just like, well, this means management's bad, ignoring a bunch of other factors, I felt. But nobody fell out over it as far as I'm aware. So it was just more fanboy bullshit, really. And what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
it's such a shame when it's like prominent journalists and tech writers, so-called tech writers, who are getting involved in the war as well. It's just a load of BS.
So my question is, why didn't you write an article with my tweet in it?
Why didn't I write an article with your tweet in it? I was playing Hearthstone, man.
Yeah, that's all you've been doing.
Rocking that Hearthstone.
Just playing Hearthstone.
Yeah, a little bit. I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone.
But you should have highlighted my tweet. It was, Kotaku did. Although Kotaku was late to the story. I thought that was funny.
It wasn't even your meme.
I know. I didn't even make the meme. It was just someone sent it to me, and I was like, "This is good. I'm gonna co-op this." And I didn't, whatever. But yeah,
I actually made the meme that I replied to you with. Wow. I used image flip to generate one, but
that's the highest I'll ever get. I'm in Kotaku. Thank you. Anyways,
you peaked.
Yeah, so I've peaked. Face 23 Brooklyn with the $50 super chat. Thank you so much for all the support. He says, it's been a crazy 2 weeks for Xbox. Xbox DRM issues, delaying games after announcing their showcase, ambassadors telling consumers you can't criticize a company unless you run it. Xbox Civil War can Xbox change their perception in 2022? Can they? I ask you that, Jez. Well, I guess I'll just touch on, since we were asked this before about the whole Xbox ambassador thing. How do I say this nicely? I didn't think that person's argument was very strong. But the Xbox Ambassador program isn't really an exclusive club. Anybody can join it. It's literally anybody. So, yeah. I mean, it's just one person's opinion on Twitter. That kind of...
People took it way too far. I think
people took it
way too far. Yeah, I think people were just being dicks about it. Well, I think she's a nice person. She works in customer service. She doesn't have to be some kind of hardcore elite gamer. I think it's a load of bullshit the way she was treated, frankly. And I think people took it way too far just because she's got a check mark. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, I mean, people definitely dogpiled, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about the ambassador program, considering just anybody can be an ambassador. It doesn't really mean much.
I'm not a fan of the ambassador program, to be honest, because I kind of feel like Microsoft has used the ambassador program to replace a paid customer service. All the ambassadors, I mean, I don't know if people know this, but ambassadors basically, they get perks. They get paid in Game Pass and other random perks for basically giving Xbox customer service for free, low-level customer service, which I think is bullshit. And that actually makes me slightly concerned for Activision Blizzard, because Activision Blizzard employ hundreds of support staff across Europe and in the United States. And if Microsoft's mentality is customer service employees should work for nothing, I ain't very happy about that and what it could mean for Activision Blizzard. So I might be looking into that and doing a report on it soon. So if there's anyone from Microsoft listening to that, get ready. But even still, people treated her like she was an official employee of Xbox and that she should be some kind of elite gamer, some kind of expert, which is completely unfair. When all she wants to do is basically help out the community, So, but honestly, I blame Microsoft, because I think Microsoft puts some of these people in that position, and they're not very clear about what the ambassador program is, if they're employees or not, So I don't know. I think the ambassador program is a little bit problematic, and but I definitely don't think she deserved any of the flack she got.
Right. Shout out to the newest member of the channel, Uncle Chowder. Thank you. And let's see what else we got here. Flame, who's been a member for 12 months, says, "Howdy, y'all. Hope you two are having a great week. This Xbox Civil War was hilarious. Watching people eat each other like cannibals was so fun. Ooh woo." The Scarecrow says in the super chat, "Awake to watch at 5 a.m. because our little border collie puppy got de-sexed. Looking forward to the show today." Dis-sexed, huh? We were supposed to get Shakespeare neutered, but we never did. So he is still...
Didn't?
No, he is still... when we rescued him,
oh, wow.
It was supposed to come in the package that we paid for him. The people who had him before us, or not the people that abused him, but he was in one of those foster homes before he came to us.
Right.
They were supposed to get him neutered before they brought him to us, but they never did. And then my sisters never bothered to take him to go get neutered, so he hasn't been neutered. So
Has he ever tried to run away? Because my dogs
Mm,
always try to run away before they got neutered.
no, he's never tried to run away. He's a good boy.
Fair enough.
He's a very very good boy.
Mm.
Private Pile says, going to my first fan fest ever at the LA event. What cool stuff should I expect for this cherry poppin' experience? Apparently, it's a 9 to 5 thing. Yeah, so I see a
I've
lot of
never
people.
been.
I see a lot of people posting that they're going to fan fest. Some people are got their flights ready and they're flying. Now, I can only speak to my experience, and that was 2016. You showed up early. This is when Microsoft was still doing like the event at the Galen Center, really early, kind of in the morning. Like I think it was like 10 a.m. Pacific. So you got there at like 8 or whatever, and they had breakfast set up for you in the gym. You went for the show, and then afterwards they have some events for you to do. Like we went to a car museum. We went to like a movie theater to watch a movie that hadn't been released yet, and they had these like sit down interviews with the cast of Gears 4. So I guess it really depends on what's happening this year. So I mean, obviously you guys are going to be watching the show, and then other things will happen. So I don't know. I know Colt's going. I saw Paris tweet that he's gonna be there. So. Sounds like it's gonna be fun times. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I don't know. I just don't feel like I just don't want to like. I feel like paying money to fly over there and getting like a hotel isn't worth it for what this fan fest is. Like if it was like a in-person event with all this other stuff, maybe. But am I the only one that feels that way? Jez, were you planning on going?
Well, it's different for me because I'm like in Europe, so it's like a huge investment if I wanted to go. Talking thousands of dollars, right, to get a hotel, to get flights, travel, and all that stuff. So for me, no, I can't get to LA for that. But I'd definitely go if it was in London or something like that. Much easier to get there for me. But I've never been to FanFest. Like I couldn't go to FanFest previously because of being a journalist, and I actually did get invited this time, but I can't afford to go, so I won't be going. Sadly, I would very much love to go, but I can't, unfortunately. But I hope everyone that does go has an awesome time and post lots of pictures for those of us who aren't going, so we can experience it vicariously through you.
Yeah. Well, have we decided what we're gonna do for podcast wise for the show? Are you gonna be too busy to do one afterwards? Or we're just gonna do one on Monday or whatever?
It's on Sunday, right?
It's on Sunday.
We could probably do one.
I figured we'd probably just do one the next day on Monday, because everyone's gonna be trying to do their podcast as soon as it's over, and a lot of people are gonna.
So we do Monday.
Well, because normally every time we talk about it, you always say like you're just too busy, because you'll be writing up all these articles about what's announced and stuff, and we just should do it the next day.
It's a bit different this year because I've got like a much bigger team than I did in previous years, and also in previous years we would have been flying out there for E3, so a lot of people would be less available. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see close to the time, right?
Yeah. I guess we need to answer Face's question we didn't get to. Can Xbox turn around their perception in 2022, Jez? Do you think that's a fair thing to ask? Do you think that their perception needs to be changed? Do you think that's just the Twitter bubble saying that something's bad when in reality, like in the real world, there's not that big of a deal? Like, what's your take on it?
I think in the real world, most people don't even know what Starfield is. So I don't think they've got a perception issue outside of the Twitter bubble right now. But I think it is true that sometimes if things get so bad, if the meme and the narrative that Xbox has no games gets so strong, sometimes the bubble can leak out into the real world. And if the bubble leaks out into the real world, you end up with a sort of narrative that's hard to shift because that bubble leaked out and the real world sort of like not so influenced as easily from the bubble. They retain narratives for years and years and years. I still, every now and then, I get asked about the Red Ring of Death, for God's sake, you know, because there's this sort of common sense idea amongst people of sort of my age who maybe they used to play games and then they didn't for a while, and maybe their kids are growing up a bit now and they want to get back into gaming again. I've literally been asked by an old school friend, does the Xbox still Red Ring of Death? You know, that's an example of the sort of a meme become taken on a life of its own, right? So I do think like perception is something that Xbox actively has to manage, but I don't think we're quite there yet. And I think like after June 12th, the bubbles narrative will probably be more positive, and then that maybe that'll leak out. But then after Starfield blows up, and I firmly believe it will blow up, and it'll be a landmark moment in gaming. I believe that.
Landmark moment, huh?
Yeah, like Skyrim. Like Skyrim become this sort of long tail game that lives on in perpetuity through mods and stuff like that and community tools. I think that is what they're going for with Starfield, which is why it's so important that they nail it, right? But that's the kind of thing that will seep out, is that Xbox has got like this super awesome game that's made by the people who made Skyrim, and that'll fix any sentiment issues they have right now, I think, which is why it's so important that it was delayed. If that was going to ship in a cyberpunky sort of state, then that's bad times,
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. My friend, Everborn Saga, shout out to him. I don't know if he's listening, but he came up with an interesting conspiracy theory about the delay of Starfield and Redfall. And I figured I'd throw it your way. I want to see if you're going to laugh or if you're going to say, he might be onto something here. Now, he talked about this, I think, in the latest podcast with Boom, but he also talked about it with me, and I told him he was crazy. So, let's see what you think here. He thinks Microsoft is playing 4D chess, and that they delayed Starfield and Redfall to help the Activision deal get done faster, without any complications. What do you think about that conspiracy theory?
I think it can't hurt their regulator problems potentially. If it looks like Xbox is really struggling and they've got problems and that they desperately need games, it can't hurt, right? But I also think like if anyone in the regulatory committee found out that Microsoft had done that definitely would not help them. So I think it might be just one of them convenient little accidents, maybe. I don't think they've done it on purpose.
I told Everborn he was nuts. I said there's no way they delayed the games to help the Activision deal go through. I was like, you're smoking something, and I want it.
Yeah.
There's just no way. There's just no way. But hey, people always
conspiracies are fun, man. I do love a good conspiracy, but unfortunately, the vast majority of them are just that bullshit.
Yeah. We got a super chat here from Alex, who says, hi guys, do you guys think that Wolfenstein 3 is a possible maybe 2022 release? Apparently there's an unannounced project by Machine Games. I have seen this question floating around, especially when I go through some of the Xbox threads over at Reset Era or in Xbox Era forums and stuff. There's a contingent of gamers, I don't know how real this is or if just kind of like wishful thinking, but there is a significant, thought that something like Wolfenstein 3 is going to be announced at the Game Showcase this June 12th, and then will release this holiday. What do you think the likelihood of that is? That they're sitting on Wolfenstein 3 and they just haven't talked about it, and it's just going to basically come out?
I think it's hugely possible. We've seen Bethesda do stuff like this before, just to sort of be like, oh yeah, by the way, there's this game that's coming, and it just sort of appears out of nowhere, and then they're like, oh yeah, we've this is finished and it launches in 6 months. I think that's totally possible. I want to believe it's probable, but man, Bethesda's one studio that I have absolutely no sourcing on at all. Not even rumors. So it's kind of like it's really hard to know what to expect from Bethesda, you know. So I'm in the dark as much as anyone else with regards to Bethesda. I got sources a lot of other studios, but Bethesda just ain't one of them, man.
Yeah, because not a lot of people have sources at Bethesda, and there's like, oh man, you have these studios like, what's id working on, what's Roundhouse working on, you know, people flash back and they'll bring up those quotes from Pete Hines from a few years ago about how Wolfenstein 3 is in production or will happen, right? And people are like, man, what has Machine Games done? Because we, even like, what, 2 years ago or last year? I think it was maybe last year, we were expecting Wolfenstein to show up at the showcase, remember? Because everybody was like, well, Machine Games has to have been doing something. Like, their last game was the new Colossus in 2017, and I think they co-developed Youngblood with Arcane in 2019, right? But like since then, Arcane's essentially released 2 games.
Did Arcane make Youngblood? They didn't.
They co-developed it. It was like co-developed. I think like Arcane. I think Arcane did the like level design layouts for like the cities, and like
That's one of the worst games I've ever played, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Youngblood was not good. Yes, I definitely agree with you. 100%. They tried to put in like the, you know, live service stuff, and the 2 daughters were just cringe-orific. It was just, it was not good. But I want to say they co-developed it, you know, and they've obviously gone on to do Deathloop, and they're doing like Redfall. So people have been like, well, what have you been doing since New Colossus? It's been a long time, so there has to be Wolfenstein 3 in there. And like, I sympathize with those posters because I love Wolfenstein. I think it would be a great addition to 2022, since right now Xbox doesn't have any announced games. If a Wolfenstein 3 was a game that actually existed and announced at the game showcase, hey man, +1, you know, like that's amazing. But then it's like, are they really just like, they just sitting on a completed essentially Wolfenstein 3? And then everybody else is working on Indiana Jones. It almost seems to me like the more likeliest scenario is that maybe they started work on Wolfenstein 3 and then shelved it when they got the Indiana Jones deal. And they're full on Indiana Jones with maybe a small team doing something on Wolfenstein 3. And after Indiana Jones is finished, they'll go back to Wolfenstein 3 and finish the trilogy. That seems like maybe the likeliest scenario. But I don't want to rain in anybody's parade. I don't want to come out here and say Wolfenstein 3, 0% chance of happening, because I don't know anything that's going on in Bethesda. Your guess is as good as mine, you know?
I think Wolfenstein 3 is going to happen. Like, the story's not finished yet. And Microsoft did not buy Bethesda to shelve one of the biggest IPs they've got. So Wolfenstein 3 is definitely happening. And they'll probably like look at it from a perspective of, how can we elevate this? How can we take it to the next level? So yeah, I think we'll see Wolfenstein 3 eventually. It's just a question. It's just a question, very firm question of when. When is that happening? That is the real question, and the answer to that is God knows. You know, I hope we see something from Machine Games, because, like you, it's been a damn long time since we have, and I'm a big fan of the studio. I just wonder, honestly, is Youngblood going to be considered canon? They're just going to be like, yeah, that didn't happen. Because that it's a shame, because they had like a lot of good DLC for the Wolfenstein games. It's just Youngblood. Yeah,
Youngblood was a miss. Youngblood was a miss. I mean, I don't think it'll be set as a sequel to Youngblood. It'll probably still be like, you know, a direct sequel to the 2. You know,
yeah, when they're still little.
Yeah. So, we'll see. Yaquin, he says, just wanted to say that you guys are a breath of fresh air, articulate, informed, and level-headed. All this exaggerated outrage makes me love y'all. Well, they just described you, Jez. You're, you know, articulate, informed, and level-headed. I'm neither of those three things. You. Neither.
What are you talking about? If anything, that's your angle.
No,
I'm the crazy predictions guy who gets over fixated on games like Hearthstone.
That's true. Installation 7 says, if Kojima teases his next game, does he show it at the Xbox Showcase or Joff's or Summer Games Fest event? I don't know. Like, the only one's really talked about Kojima's game is Jeff Grubb. And I don't know if you saw the news today, Jez, but apparently Norman Reedus basically announced to the world that they're working on Death Stranding 2. Did you see that today?
I did see that. And I think that's really cool. I'm happy to hear that. Even though I never actually finished Death Stranding, I appreciate how weird it is. And I kind of want to see more of it, you know? So I'm interested to see what they do with it when they've got a chance to address feedback and stuff. I'm intrigued by the idea of it, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see if it actually happens or not.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen with the... Because you have no information on the Kojima game, right? It's not in any of the stuff that you know about?
No, that's like... I never had a shred of info about that. I'm not saying it's wrong, I just didn't have any info about it. So it's going to be interesting to see if it plays out or not. Obviously, I think Microsoft would want to work with Kojima because one of the problems they've got with their cloud gaming APIs is like, how can we actually make this into something that actually translates into a fun quote-unquote game? And they need people like Kojima to figure that out. They need people who can think outside of the box, you know, make those cloud APIs go to work and do something interesting and new. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see because, yeah. If that is happening, I don't think we'll hear about it anytime soon because it's going to be a big experiment. A lot of experiments don't work.
That is definitely true. What else we got here? We got Poochie's been a member for 6 months. Says, how much gameplay do you guys think we'll see at this upcoming showcase, and of what games? Also, I think a desperate Xbox is the best Xbox.
That's true.
Gameplay, probably of stuff coming this year. If there's anything coming this year, like, 'cause who knows? Maybe gameplay of stuff coming before the next showcase. So anything coming early next year. So that would mean like Starfield and Redfall. Although, Jez, I'm not entirely convinced Starfield's going to be coming out the first half of next year, though.
You think they'll push it back even further?
Why not? If you're going to delay the game, might as well delay the game as long as it needs it. So, like, if Starfield needs to come out, what do you look? Okay, look at the games that Bethesda's released this generation so far. Deathloop basically delayed a full year. That game was originally a launch title for the PS5 and came out a year later in September. And then Ghostwire Tokyo was supposed to be an early 2021 title that got delayed to early 2022. So both the games they have released both received 1 year delays, and Starfield is by far their biggest game. So I think if it was needed, I think totally you could see Starfield releasing November of next year. You don't think that's a possibility?
Man, that'd be a seriously hardcore delay when they literally had an announced date up until last week or the week before. I think it'll launch before then.
Okay.
But
Do you
I
think...
also thought it wouldn't get delayed. So
yes, you were on this podcast saying very much so that 100% lock, baby, it's coming.
I think it could hit the Elden Ring launch window, February.
Really? So you think it's that?
Yeah.
You think they only really needed an extra couple months?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Why not?
Is this something you know? Is there something you're not telling me?
No.
So do you think? All right. Let me ask you this: the Starfield
They've given themselves to quarter 2, right? They've given themselves to summer 2023, judging by that statement. So I think it could launch in quarter 1. I think it could. Why not?
Okay. What about Redfall?
A year from now.
What comes first, Redfall or Starfield?
I think Starfield could come even before Redfall.
Really? Even though we've seen people leak Starfield beta footage and stuff, you think Starfield is closer to coming out? Even though Redfall was supposed to come out summer of this year, you think?
Part of me wonders if like the issue with Redfall is less bugs and more to do with finding the gameplay loop, making it fun. Because if Starfield is basically Skyrim in space, you know that's a lock, right? And that to me says it's a polish issue. But with Redfall, maybe it's less of a polish issue. I mean, this is purely going off assumption. Maybe it's less of a polish issue and more of a damn, we need to actually make this more fun because it's an online game. I don't know. That's just me guessing out there because I kind of feel like Arcane's a studio that likes to experiment. Like I said earlier, sometimes experiments don't work. Deathloop won a lot of awards and stuff, but I don't think it really had the kind of retention that maybe they would have hoped for. Personally, I certainly didn't stick with it very long. So maybe they want to find the fun more with Redfall. I don't know, but that's just my assumption. I don't think they're in that state with Starfield. I think with Starfield they're very much like, let's tighten up all this stuff and polish it. Because Todd's a visionary, man.
Well, let me ask you
Todd
this,
doesn't make
okay?
mistakes.
Since he asked about gameplay, do we see Starfield gameplay?
Starfield gameplay. I think we do. I think we see Starfield gameplay. I think we see more of it and get an idea of how it actually plays. Whether they save the deep dive for when it actually launches, I think that's something that could happen. That the deep dives push back till nearer launch. Maybe we get the deep dive at the Game Awards, like 10 minutes or something. Well, but I don't know. 10 minutes a long time for no ad break for Jeff Keighley, I guess. So
in that same Twitter post where they delayed the game, they said that the deep dive would be happening soon. The first deep dive of gameplay would be happening soon. Is what they said.
Is that the 20-minute Todd Howard deep dive or just a general gameplay trailer sort of?
I would say that's the Todd Howard 20-minute deep dive rather than like a 2-3 minute trailer of gameplay jump cut together,
Well, I guess that means that it is happening at E3 then. But I honestly don't know. Like, times have changed. Maybe they're just, I can't see 20-minute long deep dive at the showcase, but maybe it is, like you say, like a jump cut sort of thing. And then they're like, go to our YouTube channel to learn more or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think whatever game's coming this year and then whatever games are coming before the next showcase will have gameplay. Outside of that, not really sure. We'll find out soon. Nistra says this one is for Jez for his beverage of choice. Thanks again for answering my DM. Happy Friday, everybody.
Awesome. So, thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Supernova says, "What's up, balls? Who is most likely to happen? Buy an IP license from Konami or remastered Lost Odyssey? #believe." Jeez.
I actually think Lost Odyssey being remastered is far more likely, and I'll tell you why. Xbox was actually running a poll on the Insider channel recently, asking people what game they preferred or what franchise they were more aware of: Blue Dragon or Lost Odyssey. Now that could just be an intern putting a random filler question in for no reason, or it could be Microsoft polling people for what game they want to see remastered. Personally, if I was going to do like a Blue Point style remaster of one of those games, Lost Odyssey is the obvious pick. It had way more I think it had way more of a footprint than Blue Dragon, and why not both? I'd rather see Lost Odyssey remastered than the Gears of War collection we're going to talk about in a bit, which is probably controversial opinion. I'm realizing.
I don't think either of these two things Supernova said are actually going to happen.
Yeah, probably not.
If I were to say which one would I want to happen rather than because likeliest is you're probably talking ones at like 1% and ones at 2%, right? But like the one that I would want is, get an IP license from Konami, get Metal Gear, get Castlevania, or get Silent Hill or whatever. Like a remastered Lost Odyssey doesn't I don't know, like unless you're saying the Lost Odyssey 2, a sequel, I'd be like, okay, well, yeah, do Lost Odyssey 2, but a remastered Lost Odyssey, I'm just kind of like, But a new
My issue with that is I know Konami would overcharge because I think Konami really overvalues their IP, and they think these games have any sort of I don't know value, even though they've been dead for years.
I mean, because supposedly, judging from some of these rumors from people like Nate Drake and others, there's a bunch of Silent Hill games in development. So it sounds like they're being loose. They're letting Bloober Team of all people make one. So that doesn't scream to me that they're would overcharge. That screams to me that they want, it's not that expensive to
Like,
make.
yeah, they're not going to charge Bloober Team to use the IP, are they? They're gonna take a cut of the royalties or whatever. But like, if Sony or Microsoft, someone with a big load of cash came knocking and saying, "Hey, we want to license Silent Hill IP," then Konami would go balls to the wall, being like, "Oh yeah, we want $150 million." I think.
So how do you feel about the Silent Hill rumors? Like, are you down for a Bloober Team Silent Hill 2 remake? Because that's the rumor. They're remaking Silent Hill 2. Is the Bloober Team thing?
I'm in two minds of it. Like, I really like Bloober Team's art direction and their atmospheric treatment, but like a lot of people, I think their writing isn't great. I actually quite liked their Cyberpunk game, the name of which I can't even remember off the top of my head. What was it called now? Their Cyberpunk game?
Jeez, their Cyberpunk
You know
game?
what I'm talking about?
Yeah, an Observer, I believe it's called.
Observer, yeah. Like, Observer was, like, really cool, but, and, like, they had, like, the dude from Blade Runner attached to that IP, which is, like, huge. But, I thought the medium was pretty bad. It was quite bland and boring, and I really didn't like the characters or pretty much anything about it. So I'm nervous. I think they did Cyberpunk a lot better than psychological, even though it was psychological horror. But the sort of sci-fi body horror, I think they handled a lot better than they handled the sort of psychological, sort of supernatural horror of the medium. And because of the medium, that's why I'm kind of nervous about how they'll handle Silent Hill. Because honestly, Silent Hill's a special game to me. It was like I got Silent Hill 2 for Christmas one year when I was a kid, and my family couldn't really afford anything. So I was kind of like, really happy to have gotten that full price game for Christmas. And it's not a very Christmassy game.
No, definitely not.
I suppose there's like snow and mist in it, although it's ash, isn't it? Not snow. In my naivety, I used to think the falling. I thought it was snow in Silent Hill 1, but I think it is ash from the fire or whatever. But anyway, it's got a special place in my heart, and a lot of other people, which is why I think like there's some serious hostility towards Bloober Team doing it. I don't agree with the hostility because Bloober Team, at the end of the day, they're artists. They're a small dev. They're learning. And they're getting, better and better with every game release, technologically and hiring and growing and reinvesting. And I think it's really they're an easy target to pick on, which I think is really kind of lame. But at the same time, it's like, do I want them to work on Silent Hill? Not really. But I'll keep an open mind. Like, I want to believe that they will do it justice and they've got a plan for it, and they'll actually do the research on the lore and the universe and make it make sense, and not I'm gonna say I don't want them to Americanize it, even though I know they're a Polish dev. There's this sense of Hollywood about their games, which Silent Hill don't have. Silent Hill is not a Hollywood kind of game, whereas like games like The Medium kind of was Hollywood-esque horror, So I don't want to see them Hollywoodize Silent Hill either. I don't know. I just hope they're bloody careful with it and I hope they prove everyone wrong. I hope they prove everyone wrong. But what I think's more interesting, Rand, is this possibility that these games could be platform exclusive.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of people are talking about.
That one of them is timed PlayStation exclusive, or the Bloober Team thing. The thing is, like, I also have a love for Silent Hill, the first game and the second game specifically, and I'm not the biggest fan of Bloober Team. Okay, I agree with you. Observer I really liked, but Layers of Fear and the Medium, not the best. So they wouldn't be my first pick to play or to make a Silent Hill 2, right? Maybe to make a new Silent Hill, but to you're talking about retreading on this, holy ground, so to speak, right? Silent Hill 2 is sort of like that. I know our buddy Miles Dampier is so excited for this. But is this, I don't know, it's like I don't know if I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about Bloober Team remaking Silent Hill 2. I mean, I guess we'll
Yeah,
see. Maybe this would be their breakthrough game. Maybe this is like where everything they've learned comes together. But I just,
mm,
yeah, I don't know. I'm I'm just not there. And supposedly there's other projects, like there's like a sequel and there's like other things that Konami's doing. So it sounds like they're basically, they want to get back in on this, right? Because they've been essentially haven't been making games for a bit, but they still make a lot of money with the pachinko machines. So I wonder if we'll once again see more Metal Gear games, more Castlevania games. If they're really going all, because like Silent Hill is a very, how do I say this? It's not like the biggest franchise in the world, right? It was always very super niche. So
mm.
I think because I think Metal Gear was bigger, and I think even Castlevania was bigger. Like, so I'm kind of curious to see how these games are received. And let's be honest here, if it's exclusive, that means the rhetoric behind it is even going to people will talk it up like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, because exclusives always are. Like, whether it's for Nintendo, PlayStation, or Xbox, exclusives get talked about. The fan base constantly talks about them in list wars and stuff. But like when you look at how big Silent Hill was back in the day, it really wasn't. It's beloved by the people who played them, but it wasn't like it was a gigantic, huge franchise. But if it is exclusive to PlayStation, trust me, the PlayStation fans will push it like it's this huge, massive franchise again. It'll be interesting to see. Space Dovakin, he says in the super chat, "Greetings, Rand and Jez. Love this show. What's your thoughts about the PlayStation COD marketing mystery and the Activision deal looking like it's ahead?" Yeah, Jez. So did you see this PlayStation COD marketing thing?
Yeah.
More that it wasn't present at the Sony CEO like talk he did, where on screen were a bunch of their co-marketing deals they had from Harry Potter to Deathloop and all the other stuff, but one prominent game was missing, and that was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Does that say anything to you? Has something changed? Because we assume that Jason Schreier's talked about this, of like how Sony had a deal for the next couple games. We assume for marketing, but it's not up there on screen. Is there something to read into? Did Microsoft somehow able to get the marketing rights back? Is it possibility if they do get the deal done? Because we'll talk about this in a minute about the Activision deal moving fast, that this Modern Warfare 2 could be a day one Game Pass game. What do you make of this?
Well, I think in the past, I'm sure we've been in situations where around this time of year, people started wondering if Sony did have the marketing or not, because they hadn't heard a peep. And in the past, it went down to fairly close to launch where these deals actually materialized. So I think it could just be a case of the deal hasn't been done yet, and maybe it's coming closer to launch, I think that might be what we're seeing here, but it could also be the other thing. It could be that Sony's getting out early because they think, well, we're not going to have this much longer anyway, so let's drop the association or whatever. Or maybe Microsoft literally just paid for it. I don't know, but I don't think this means anything yet. Personally, I think what this means is that ultimately the deal hasn't been completed or finalized yet, and it will be probably relatively soon.
Okay, I say I don't know much about this, and this would be more of a question for Hoglaw, but with Microsoft acquiring Activision, could they enter into agreements about stuff? Or would that, or like, I guess the question is, they're being acquired, and Microsoft goes to them and is like, listen, we want to get the Modern Warfare marketing rights. Is that something they'd be able to do? Or because they wouldn't be able to force them because they don't own them, but would they be able
No.
to like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like, come on, give us a good deal here? Was that something that
It
would
probably. I mean, you can imagine it gives them some kind of, even if it's superficial leverage. There's probably some aspect to it where it's like having a better relationship in place, working more closely, and that sort of stuff. Maybe it does lead to a deal. Even if it's not like a case of Microsoft forcing them full blown. But I think like they might just be anxious to get this all sorted and done with. So. But I could also be wrong. I personally think it's just that the deal isn't done yet because the game's not announced yet, and maybe Sony didn't put it there because the deal's not done yet. I don't think this graphic was even supposed to be public facing, was it? I haven't even verified that it's even real in the first place.
Well, I mean, the game's been announced. The logo's out there, so I mean, it's not like they would be announcing an unannounced game.
But I mean, it's not. The gameplay is not revealed. I mean,
sure. Yeah, I guess maybe there's something to that. Vince the Magician says, shout out to Jez for his interview on the Weekly Recon. You said Starfield can be a landmark in gaming like Skyrim was. Do you think Starfield is a game that can dominate for 10 plus years like Grand Theft Auto can?
Sorry, there's a storm here and I just heard my cat meowing. So I had to save him from the rain. What was the question again?
He wants to know if you think Starfield can dominate for 10 plus years like Grand Theft Auto can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Skyrim's done it in a sort of lesser way. Fallout 4 has done it too. It's like a lot. Fallout. Like people even still play Fallout 3 and mod Fallout 3. It's Bethesda games tend to take on a life of their own. And that's obviously what they're going to be aiming for with it's obviously what they're going to be aiming for with Starfield, right? So I think like this is going to be a major brand unless they catastrophically fuck it up, which let's face it, in a post-Cyberpunk world seems to be possible for any dev.
Yeah, I suppose so. Although that would not be good if they did, though, Jez.
No, it would not. It'd be very bad. And I would be very sad. And I would blame you.
Why would it be my fault?
I don't know. I'm just mean.
You're the one that's saying Starfield's going to be a landmark for gaming. Not me. Humdrum says, tell Jez to check DMs. It's on Fable. You can show Rand. So apparently you got a DM.
I did see.
So
I did see.
Ghost Shell says, I hope World of Warcraft, Arclight Rumble, Diablo Immortal, and Hearthstone eventually get Xbox achievements. Great show. Go Battle Shrimp.
I've actually got an article about that coming up. I'm actually going to write an article about that Microsoft should include Xbox achievements in these games. I installed Fallout Shelter the other day.
Did you?
Because, I'm a big mobile gamer now. I don't know if you heard, Rand. But I installed Fallout Shelter to see what it's like these days. And the game's basically dead. It hasn't been changed at all in a really long time. And because I found out there's actually a Fallout Shelter 2, but it's exclusive to China, which is, not what I would have expected from Fallout, but it is what it is. But apparently it's really good and really popular and people like it. It's like online, like a massively multiplayer Fallout Shelter. I don't know, but it looks really cool and it has like turn-based combat and stuff. And but it's not available in the West, which I don't get. Like, it's so strange. And like a lot of these games, they use Google Play system. So like when you play them, you get Google Play achievements. Like, who the hell cares about Google Play achievements?
Nobody.
Microsoft, nobody. Microsoft has the capability to put Xbox achievements in Android games. I don't know if they use it for any at the moment, but I remember Mike telling me in an interview that they have that capability. So I don't know. I'm gonna complain about that. I like complaining.
Yeah, you definitely do. You definitely do like complaining. Yeah,
I do.
Jeremy G says no chance Starfield misses the Microsoft fiscal year end. So that would be that'd be June of next year. We got Hacky Sack saying, "Could Starfield have a multiplayer element?" Have they said anything about a multiplayer element, Jez? I don't think they have.
I think they have, but maybe I theorized before that it could have some kind of asynchronous thing like Watch Dogs had, like a sort of soft multiplayer connected stuff. I think it's gonna have. I think it's gonna have like it's gonna have that mod store that Skyrim has, where people can make mods and sell them, because that's like a big part of Microsoft's strategy is to have user generated content and then sell it, like Minecraft and stuff. You know, people actually run their businesses selling Minecraft maps. I don't know if you know this, but yeah, that's the thing. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Andrew says, not sure if you answered this already, but which third-party games do you think Microsoft will target to shore up the fall and winter drought? I mean, is there any, like, they could? Like, because, like, you look at it right now, the only one that really stands out is, like, Gotham Knights, because the end of the year right now is a little bit barren. I think clearly that'll fill up once the Jeff Keighley Summerfest and E3 all happen, right? We'll get a better understanding of all the games coming this fall. But if you're talking about like what Xbox can do third-party wise, it's like, well, they just lost 2 big games, right? They just lost Starfield and Redfall. There's no way they can realistically replace Starfield. They just can't. I don't care what game it is. They can't replace that. You might be able to replace Redfall. You know, I'm not saying it's like Back 4 Blood, but, you know, some people would say maybe those games are on similar pedestals like Back 4 Blood, Redfall. So you might be able to replace Redfall, but there is 0 chance you could replace Starfield. Just like there'd be 0 chance of Sony replacing God of War Ragnarok. There just isn't. Like, those games are very few and very far between. So they could try and make deals for Game Pass so people don't unsubscribe, because that's what the big thing is. The negative for Starfield getting delayed is that Starfield was supposed to push Game Pass subscriptions, and it's not going to. And I already sort of think Game Pass has kind of... I don't think Game Pass has been very good this year. I think I don't think they've really hit what people... like last year, there was that point in time where like people were super excited. Like they had Outriders and they had MLB The Show and they had stuff like that. And people were like, damn, this is the beginning of the third-party barrage, right? Like, but it really didn't continue. They got Back 4 Blood, but after that, it was kind of mostly smaller titles. And I'm not saying smaller titles are bad. Like, you can discover some gems within Game Pass, but I'm not sure people subscribe for that stuff. So I wonder if they're looking at a flat year for Game Pass without Starfield and Redfall being there, or if they're going to dip. Because I can certainly see people being like, you know what? Xbox got nothing for me this year. I'm going to cancel my subscription until they got something better. But then the question, you know, you have to ask is, would it getting Gotham Knights day one in Game Pass, would that change people's minds? Would that make people subscribe? If there's another big game, like, just throwing it out there, like Callisto Protocol, a game that might be coming out this year from Glenn Schofield, looks kind of like, you know, their next... looks Dead Spacey, so to speak.
Yeah.
If that game came out and you got that game, is that something that's gonna tempt people to subscribe? I'm just not sure realistically what they can do, because I don't think there's a game out there as big as Starfield. Like, I think Starfield would be as big as Elden Ring. Maybe not so much that it sells 13 million copies in like a month or 2 months, but I think you're talking about a game that would have been played by 20 million people in a month. I think a game that would have sold millions upon millions of copies on PC just by itself, let alone Xbox. Like, I don't think there's a way you replace that game. You can try, but I don't, you know?
The thing is, right, about... a lot of people have the wrong argument with subscription services on Xbox, because all of this stuff in the news about Netflix losing subscribers and then losing all of its shares and shareholders pulling out and they're firing people and stuff like that. The reason for that is Netflix has no diversity in its business model, no diversity whatsoever. So it's like if their subscriptions fail, the whole company fails. Xbox is not the same way. I think if people unsubscribe to Game Pass, it's not that they're going to quit Xbox altogether. It's not like the platform fails. They'll still be buying V-Bucks. They'll still be buying Roblox, Bucks, whatever it's called.
Roblox Bucks?
Roblox Bucks.
The Roblox Bucks?
The Roblox Bucks. That stuff. They'll still be buying hats in Among Us. And they'll still be buying Hearthstone cards. Oh wait, that's not an Xbox. That's just me. But that's the point. It's like even if people unsubscribe, it's not doom and gloom because Microsoft knows they're gonna come back when Starfield comes out. Microsoft knows they're gonna come back when Call of Duty gets in there. You know, you could even say that these days, where Xbox Game Pass is at sort of 25 million, 20 million ish between there somewhere, that these are the early times where they're experimenting, they're getting things right before they actually start trying to blow it up and push the marketing and go into user acquisition mode. So I think, like, you know, setting expectations to being like they need a banger every month because that's Netflix's business model and that's Disney Plus's business model. It doesn't have to be that for Xbox Game Pass. You know, they can highlight other games. They can highlight like some indie games that maybe aren't on Xbox Game Pass. They can experiment. They can let people unsubscribe and then let people come back. You know, it's not the same as Netflix because Netflix needs your subscription because that's the only way they make money. It's the only way. Whereas Microsoft makes money on the V-Bucks and their game stack and their console sales and all this other stuff. So I don't think it's as dire as, you know, Xbox needs to have all these subscribers every month or they're going to be doomed, because that's just the Netflix narrative. That doesn't work in complete parallel with Xbox, in my view.
Sure. But the question was, what can Xbox do to replace Starfield for this fall? You had two games.
My point was, like, do they need to? They can't replace Starfield. But maybe you Call of Duty, and I said last week on the show, I think Diablo could be, you know, Diablo 4, if it's like close to launch, that could be your headline act for that quarter. You know, get Diablo 4 in there, stick it on the cloud, have specially designed touch controls with a Diablo interface, you know, as a sort of hardcore alternative to Diablo Immortal, because Diablo Immortal is going to be like super casual and stuff like that, and Diablo 4 is going to be like the more difficult, more hardcore version, right?
Yeah.
So,
hey, well, we got 1,400 people watching. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button. Let's see if we can get up to like close to 700 before the show ends. That'd be great. I don't know. See, but so you're of the opinion that Microsoft doesn't need to do anything. That it's like, oh, well, we lost Redfall. Let's just not do anything. You're of the opinion that it's just like, all right, save your money and then go all in for the next year, essentially? Because what can replace Starfield? Is that what?
I don't think they're gonna completely duck on it. You know, I don't think they're just going to be sitting pretty with indies and stuff. I think they are going to, especially towards the holiday season, they'll ramp it up. But I think like during the summer is one period where you could probably get away with having a few dead months of Game Pass, right?
Sure.
But maybe you let the summer be dead, and then you use the money you saved in the summer to really go hard on a Call of Duty or something like that. Because you know, Call of Duty is giving free weekends away for nothing at the moment because nobody wants to play Call of Duty Vanguard. So maybe Activision tries to buy back some favor by being like, yeah, Call of Duty, the next one will be in Game Pass and it doesn't suck. Try it out.
Dude, you see how far Vanguard has fallen? Like, I think MPD said that Elden Ring basically outsold it like the 12 months or whatever, where they ranked the last like 12 months. And Elden Ring is like out, which is crazy because I don't think any game's outsold a Call of Duty game. So
they're doing to Call of Duty what Activision did to Guitar Hero, just making too damn many of them.
Yeah,
I don't think you need a Call of Duty every year because it's starting to get ridiculous. I saw a meme the other day where it was like, it was like Call of Duty World at War, like authentic World War II gameplay with violence and, you know, Pacific theater combat, Europe and tanks and all that kind of shit. And then next to it, it was like a meme, like players are farming King Kong's balls in Call of Duty to get XP faster. Like, what that is emblematic of what the hell's gone wrong with Call of Duty. It just doesn't feel like COD anymore. It feels like they're using the COD brand to chase the Fortnite audience, and they're going to end up alienating both. So,
well, yeah, that's people could point to the decline of Call of Duty because they have to come out with the game every year, and that was kind of the hope when Xbox came in. They could release them from that burden and have it every other year. So,
and that's why
maybe that's the way to save
Game Pass
COD.
is, yeah, maybe. That's why dunking it in Game Pass would be like perhaps more accessible than usual because Call of Duty has fallen down, you know?
Yeah. Flame says, honestly, Jez, after the medium, I'm more excited for the prospect of Bloober making a Silent Hill game. They're not washed up hacks like Kojima. Damn.
Damn. That's some spicy talk. I respect everyone's opinion. Like, Miles loves the medium. You know, Miles is a big horror fan and he watches way more horror than I do. So, you know, Miles from Windows Central is like a huge Bloober stan. I think he's probably Bloober's biggest fan in the whole world. And I appreciate that. Like, I appreciate people, if they like Bloober, then great. And honestly, I don't hate Bloober like some people do. I've seen some people being really harsh towards Bloober team, you know, calling them all kinds of stuff. And, you know, Kizu in the chat actually had a great point, Rand. He said, people cry about consolidation and then they attack smaller companies, you know, which is like, yeah, it's an interesting point to make.
Yeah,
and it's not like any company's free of criticism, but the vitriol towards Bloober team feels almost, I don't know.
Well, a lot of people really hated the medium because of at least what they thought the message was in that game. A lot of people did not like the perceived message of the medium, and they are like, we don't want them making a Silent Hill game. You know, like I didn't think the medium was a good game, but there are some people out there that despise the medium for its message, or at least what they interpreted the message of the medium to be. So they're like actively against them making Silent Hill 2.
That's even like worse. That they interpreted something and then got mad about that interpretation. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We don't talk about the medium anymore. I don't want to talk about that game because it's not a very good game. iSolor18 says that basically we'll find out next month who has the marketing rights. Presumably, yeah, because there's talks that not only Xbox has a show, but also PlayStation has an event next month, which I have heard for a while now that June is going to be a PlayStation show, but I'm not sure if it's a showcase or if it's a state of play. But yeah, I heard similar things. I don't know what's going to be there. It seems like what we've been talking about God of War recently, whenever we bring it up, like I think I said I was expecting God of War to come this year, like September time. They released a trailer, accessibilities trailer yesterday, which, I mean, I think that all signs point to God of War coming this year. I mean, I don't think you release an accessibilities trailer when your game's not coming until next year. I think it's pretty clear they're aiming to get God of War out this year, which is great because at least I have one of my anticipated games to play. You know, it was God of War and Starfield. One of them got delayed, so we got God of War this year. I'm excited.
We'll also get a new Hearthstone expansion in a few months.
Nobody gives a... Who cares about Hearthstone?
You don't care about a new Hearthstone expansion?
No, I don't.
There'll be new cards. There'll be a new meta.
What was the Blizzard game that essentially was it? Heroes of the Storm was the one that died.
It's not dead. They're still updating it.
Or is it Hearthstone was the one that like which was the one that was like they launched and did well, but then the people stopped playing it and it kind of wasn't getting any more support.
It was Heroes.
Okay, it was Heroes of the Storm. Well, what is Heroes of the Storm?
It's a MOBA. It's their League of Legends.
Who cares about? A lot of people care about MOBAs, I guess, but on the PC, not on console. Yeah,
I care about MOBAs. I care about MOBAs if it's got.
You cared about Smite because it got Slipknot in it, so.
Yeah, I played Smite this week. I jumped back in for a little game because it's got Slipknot skins now, and pretty awesome. That game's getting a bit old in the tooth, though. I think it's getting a bit long in the tooth. I think we're due for a Smite 2. I personally would think. I often thought that Microsoft would end up purchasing Hi-Rez back in the day. I think at a show, I said to an Xbox executive, "You guys should buy Hi-Rez and make them your own Blizzard." But they just went out and bought Blizzard instead.
Yeah. Hey, so when we were talking about that picture from Sony, our buddy Hazador, he hit me up and said that pic from Sony talking about the third-party deals was from a corporate strategy webcast and is indeed legit. As I was the one who tweeted about it, and I got an article. So our buddy Hazador was the one who broke that news. So apparently it is legit, Jez. It's from a corporate strategy webcast. So
cool.
The question is
Hazador, the journal.
Yeah, why isn't Modern Warfare 2 on that? Because like you would imagine that would probably be their biggest co-marketing game out of all the other ones. True. So does it mean something? Does it not? I guess we'll find out soon enough. But we got 2 super chats here from Straw Hats with no message. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Face says, thoughts on the PlayStation Plus relaunch next month and games and news they released. Do you see this as competition to Game Pass? And do you think God of War Ragnarok comes out this year? Well, I already mentioned that. I've been saying God of War is coming out this year for a while. I'm personally thinking a September release, late summer, maybe early October. So yeah, I'm fully on board God of War coming out. PlayStation.
I hope it doesn't, just so that you're wrong.
Yeah,
and I can be like, well, you were wrong about this.
Okay,
nice.
Okay. Fine, fair enough. But guess what? I'll be right though. So, is PlayStation Plus relaunch competitor to Game Pass? Of course it is. I fully think so. Even though Sony doesn't do day one games, I still think they're competition. You could subscribe to one and not subscribe to the other. It's competition in my eyes. They did announce some games. I guess it really depends on what you're looking for. They got a lot of their first party games going into the service, like Ghost of Tsushima and Returnal and a whole bunch of others. So, Sony has really good first party games. So, a lot of their games are there. So the service looks good. They got a lot of third party games. But I think maybe the thing that people were sort of eyebrow raised was the Ubisoft Plus stuff, Jez.
Yeah.
Because in January, Microsoft announced Ubisoft Plus was coming to Xbox. But nothing's happened since. They announced that Rainbow Six Extraction was coming to Game Pass day one. It did. Never heard of the game ever again. I don't think anybody's played. Whatever. It was like came
yeah.
Came and then
came out.
Basically came and went. Nobody cared. Then they also said in the same thing that Assassin's Creed Origins as well as For Honor were coming. And I believe they've been dated. So those 2 games will be coming to Game Pass in June. And I believe Origins is getting a 60 FPS patch for the Series X, which is great. But the big announcement out of this whole PlayStation stuff was that Ubisoft Plus was also coming to PlayStation. And that Ubisoft Plus Classics would actually be part of the PlayStation Premium tier, or the two higher tiers, at no extra cost. So you get I think they're launching with 27 games in that from Ubisoft Classics day one, and then by the end when the full service launches, they'll have 50. So it almost seems like Xbox Game Pass has EA Play. And then PlayStation Plus is going to have Ubisoft Plus Classics, which probably prevents Ubisoft Classics from joining Xbox Game Pass at the end of the year, right? Would you agree with me on that? I sort of think Sony wouldn't really let that happen. Ubisoft Plus will come to both consoles, but Ubisoft Classics will be included into PlayStation Plus at no extra cost, but will not be part of Game Pass. Am I reading that right, you think?
Probably. I mean, these deals can be so complicated and sort of, I don't know, nuanced, I guess. And I guess because Microsoft has EA Play and maybe they've got the exclusivity deal or something like that. I don't know. But maybe Ubisoft and Sony are just like, well, okay, well, we compete with them in this way. I think it's funny they call it Ubisoft Classics though, because isn't that kind of like false advertising?
No, because I think there's. I
And what
think.
games does Ubisoft have that could be considered classic?
Well, it's not that. It's. I think there are different tiers to
I'm
the Ubisoft Plus
I'm
thing,
just joking.
which makes me wonder if
Uh,
the Ubisoft Plus, when it actually launches as full, will actually have day one games from Ubisoft in the service. Right?
I do wonder.
Because
I do wonder.
if you're talking about Ubisoft Plus classics and you're like branching them off, that would imply, that there's like, because with PlayStation having Ubisoft Plus classics in the service, but then still saying Ubisoft Plus is still coming, I guess that means maybe that could mean that people could subscribe to Ubisoft Plus and not necessarily subscribe to PlayStation Plus to get those games. So maybe I'm reading too much into that.
What if they end up both getting it, but Sony has like marketing rights or something?
I don't know.
Like Microsoft can't advertise it or something.
This seems to me like one gets it and one doesn't. Like they both will get
maybe.
the service, but only one's like basically free to users.
What I thought was cool though was that Siphon Filter is getting trophies.
That made some waves. So some of the PlayStation 1 games and the back compat stuff are getting trophies. Obviously, trophies didn't exist in the PS1 era. We don't know how many games are getting extra trophy support, but I do think that's pretty cool. I do think cool. That's pretty cool. I've actually seen some Xbox players ask for that. Like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you went back to the OG Xbox games and patched in some achievements? But it's I don't know how many times I've said this before. Microsoft doesn't care about achievements. So
Rand, you can't say that.
They don't. I'm sorry. They just don't. I don't see them. I don't see Microsoft going back and being like, oh, we added achievements to all these original Xbox games. I don't see it because I don't think they care about achievements like that. Unfortunately. Maybe people could make noise about it on Twitter and social media and they could do something about that, but
we've sort of... I did that survey at the start of the year, do you remember? Mm-hmm. Asking Xbox fans what they cared most to be fixed. And achievements was like number 3, I think. If I remember right. Game DVR was number 1. And Xbox dashboard problems was number 2. If I remember right. Yeah. People care about achievements, and I don't know why Microsoft doesn't, because even though I don't achievement hunt, it feels good when you get an achievement. So I don't know why they wouldn't include it or wouldn't bother trying to make it better. But I am Microsoft, so maybe they've just got data that most non-core people just don't care. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Dead Planet says, could Initiative retain some Crystal employees? Maybe. I guess it depends on how, what positions need to be retained at Initiative, and if those Crystal employees want to leave to go work there,
Yeah.
Mr. Irishman says, if I get my Gears collection this year, Starfield can wait till 2024 for all I care. Yeah, so let's talk about this Gears collection rumor, Jez.
Gears collection. Where's this come from again? That's Special Nick, isn't it?
That is the shrimp himself.
The Lord of Shrimps?
Yes.
Special Nick?
The rumor bill extravaganza over at Xbox Era. Last week, he was on there with Colt Eastwood and John, I believe. And he basically said that there's another franchise, an Xbox franchise, is going to get the MCC treatment, and he thinks it's going to show up this year at the show, potentially released this year, and everybody's like, oh, geez, I wonder what that could be. And it was like, yeah, it's Gears. So, of course, like IGN and all these websites ran with it. And I have a hot take on this one, Jez. I'm not sure people...
Go on, then.
Am I the only one that just wouldn't care about a Gears collection? Like... I just don't want... I'm just not looking... How do I say this? I don't really care about replaying Gears 1, 2, or 3. Because I would assume that's what it would be, the Marcus Phoenix collection, where they would remaster Gears 1, 2, and 3. But it would have to be more than a simple remaster. It would have to be like, kind of like how Demon Souls was on the PlayStation 5, where it's like built from the ground up to take full advantage of what the Series X can do. Like, you already have Gears 1, 2, and 3 in back compat. Hell, they already remastered Gears 1 from the Xbox One gen. Right? You already have Gears 2 and 3 running 4K 60 back compat. So it's like, to me, if you're going to somehow put these together, like, I'm going to need more than that. I'm going to need, like, all right, this is built from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5. Right? I want 120 frames. I want ray tracing. You know what I mean? Like, I want the full kit and caboodle. If you're actually going to sell me a Gears collection, then this Gears collection has to be something special. I mean, I understand that, like, okay, we don't have Gears 2 and 3 on PC, so we're doing this so everything can be on PC and, you know, people can play Gears 6, but I just am not excited. Like, the idea of, like, me sitting at the showcase, like, here's Rand with, you know, a bottle of his Propel, and I got some Reese's Pieces, watching the showcase, hoping to see some cool announcements. Like, oh damn, like look at Avowed. Look how amazing Avowed looks. Sweet. Oh man, look at Hellblade 2. Oh man, cannot wait to play that game. Right? Like, I'm all excited. I'm all hyped. New games coming, and then Gears collection. You got to do something special, because I'm gonna be sitting there and be like, I don't care about Gears 1, 2, or 3 at this juncture. Like, you're going to have to wow me to get me to, you know, essentially want to be able to play those games again, because right now, I don't have any interest in playing Gears 2 or 3, let alone 1, which we did a few years back. Am I wrong for thinking this? I know Gears is your baby. So tell me.
That's the thing. I'm a Gears guy. I prefer Gears to Halo, always have. Gears is kind of the franchise I associate with Xbox over Halo. But I kind of feel the same way as you do, man. I don't think Gears needs a remaster. I think, like, they've already done the Xbox enhancements, like you said. It's like, and will this be a full-blown remake, or will it just be more enhancements on top of the enhancements? I can't see them doing a full-blown remake of this. So this just seems like a sort of, we don't know what else to make kind of thing, get some free money, which I ain't happy with. I think if you're going to remake these games, actually remake them properly. Give them something fresh and new, and more than a new coat of paint. Actually remake them. Add some levels. Add some weapons. Add some features. Add some combat mechanics. Do something that actually makes it worth doing. Because I think you've already done the remaster when you know, added the enhancements, surely. That's my take on it, you know. And, like, maybe there's things like they can sort of merge all the multiplayer maps into one sort of thing. Yeah. And they can sort of, like, you know, have, like, a sort of shared multiplayer experience and stuff like that. Maybe that's the angle they're going with it, really, is that it's a collection, kind of like the Master Chief Collection, that it's not so much a sort of a remake as it is just consolidating them all under one system, maybe. And, like, people are saying, like, Gears 2 needs an update and stuff, but honestly, Gears 2 maybe, but Gears 3 with the enhancements looks better than a lot of modern AAA games, in my honest opinion. I played it recently and I was thinking, like, damn, this looks a lot better than a lot of modern games out there. Like, that dev team knows the Unreal Engine, like, unlike anyone else. I think there are a few studios that have put the Unreal Engine to work, like the Coalition. So I don't know. I would want it to be more than a simple remake, a remaster. I would want it to be sort of, I would want more gameplay features, I think. I would want like an exploration of maybe some of the melee combat systems that they sort of started experimenting with in Gears 5. You know, I would like to see the next continuation of that. You know, I'd like to see new weapon mechanics. I'd like to see new weapons, maybe even new maps, maybe even new boss battles. side stories, expand the games. If you're not going to like completely rebuild them from the ground up, expand the games, make it actually worthwhile, make it like more like a definitive edition sort of deal. Because I don't think like just giving them a fresh coat of paint's enough to make me compelled, but I don't know.
I mean,
I'll wait
I
and see
get.
on that one.
I guess I
It
could
might
see.
not even be happening.
Well, yeah. I mean, Nick, you better. Oh boy, Nick, you put yourself out there on this one because literally every website was talking about it. You better hope this is actually true because people are going to come for you if it's not. If we're all watching that game showcase, and at the end we're like, "Hey, what happened to the Gears collection? Didn't Nick say it was supposed to be there?" And if it's not there, whoo, man, that's going to look rough. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's also possible. Maybe they want a Gears game out there to put to tide over the very ravenous Gears fans until Gears 6 comes out, right? Like, because Gears 5 was in 2019. It's been 3 years. I don't know how much play that game is getting anymore. It's not in the top 50 for Xbox. So maybe it's like, all right, we can remaster these in Unreal Engine 5, put them all on PC, and maybe get some excitement about Gears again, tide people over until 2026 when Gears 6 comes out. Maybe that's what they're thinking. But I don't know who would be making it. Like, maybe it's like, because like supposedly Coalition's got 2 projects, a small one that's a new IP or at least a new game according to Jeff Grubb, and like, Gears 6. Like, are they also working on this, or would somebody else be working on this, like Splash Damage? I don't know.
Splash Damage probably isn't going to work on Gears again, I would have thought.
Well, you never know. You never know how those things go, but I don't know. I'm just, on the face value of it, I would not be excited for a Gears collection. I'm sorry. Unless they do specific things to tailor make it for the console. I mean, we're talking, these games are 2 generations old. So it's like, unless you're doing something like really, really cool where it's like you remake it in Gears, Unreal Engine 5, and you got like all these sort of things in there. But like right now, without seeing it, yeah, I really don't care to run through Gears 2 or Gears 3 again. Sorry. That's just, I don't know if that's an opinion that people don't agree with, but it's my opinion.
I want a Gears Tactics expansion that adds more gameplay features.
I'm sure there's probably people in the comments, but like, Rand, you're really excited for the Dead Space remake. You're damn right I am. Damn right. I am excited for the Dead Space remake.
I'm not excited for that either for the same reason.
And I am super excited for the Dead Space remake. I'll be there day one. I'm just not excited for the Gears one if it's true. Better hope it's true, Nick, or else the shrimp will be coming for you.
Battle shrimp.
The battle shrimp. The Intern of War says, when the deal closes with Activision, do you think Microsoft would make one of the upcoming games exclusive to fill the voids in 2024 and beyond? What do you think, Jez?
Make what exclusive?
Like, to make any of the upcoming games exclusive. Like, we know the Blizzard, survival game, which could that be exclusive? I think you've talked about that on the show.
Yeah, I think the Blizzard survival game is one game that could go exclusive. I have no information on what will or what won't, so don't take that as a leak. But I would imagine that new IPs that have no established audience on the platform, those are the kind of games Microsoft would look to take exclusive first, like Starfield, like that Blizzard survival game, which I almost just leaked the name of by mistake. But yeah, that's where I could expect to go exclusive. I think Microsoft will look at all the IP to go exclusive. Imagine if there's a new Crash Bandicoot, for example. Could that go exclusive? Maybe it could. In a futuristic world. Maybe not the next Crash, but the one after that could go exclusive. But yeah, I think that will take some games exclusive, but not Call of Duty. Call of Duty is the only one they put a stamp on. They put that stamp on Call of Duty. Call of Duty will remain multi-platform, and they've done that because they would kick up such a stink if they took that exclusive. That I think that was the right move to make. But I guess we'll wait and see. What games do you think they should take exclusive?
All of them.
Call of Duty as well.
All of them. I mean,
Fair enough.
you know, but I understand the reasons not. What about the... Could we see a situation where some Activision games are actually timed PlayStation exclusives like Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo?
Do you mean like they've still got some existing contractual deals?
Like they still have contractual deals, and they have to honor that some games coming out would be timed PlayStation games. Like how like when the Crash remakes came out, the Crash remakes were exclusive to PlayStation for a year before they came to Xbox. Although like when Crash 4 came out, they weren't. Is it possible there's stuff like that where a game...
I know about an upcoming Activision Blizzard game which sort of fits the profile of a game that could be a timed exclusive. Don't know if it is timed exclusive, but it fits the profile of a game that could be timed exclusive. I think for sure there'll be situations like maybe in all their acquisitions where there's sort of like, I don't know, existing contracts in place like for Deathloop and your Ghostwire Tokyo, where Microsoft just has to, accept that they're under contract for a while. Microsoft's a big company and they don't want to break contracts because breaking contracts is bad. It makes you look bad. And that's the last thing Microsoft wants, right? So I think it's possible. But again, just have to wait and see. Or this is guesswork,
Yeah. I see Miles down PA in chat saying he's laughing at our bad Gears takes. Yeah.
Miles want to run through it again. Miles loves Gears even more than me.
I mean, I like Gears. I'm just not interested in running through old Gears games. I'm sorry. Hate me all you want, Miles. Go play your Pokemon game.
Miles does love that Pokemon Unite.
Yeah.
I play Pokemon Unite on my phone. Being that I'm a big mobile gamer nowadays. It's good, man. You should play it, Ron.
Play what?
Want to play Pokemon Unite? Yeah, with me
Zero
and
chance that's happening.
Why not, man? Yeah, I was actually almost tweeting out the other day, like, because that year, Rand, we raised a good $800 for charity, which isn't a huge amount of money, but it went to a good place. I think we donated it to Special Effect. I think, or did we donate to Able Gamers? I can't remember I can't remember actually who we donated to, but yeah, we raised $800 for charity because I forced you to play Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yes.
And people donated money to force you to play Pokemon Sword and Shield.
And it was one of the worst experiences in my life.
But it was for a good cause, Rand.
It was for a good cause.
When you want to do that again?
We're never doing that again.
Get on stream with me and Mars and play, do a sponsored Pokemon Unite tournament for 4 or 5, 6 hours.
We're never ever doing that again. I did my good deed for my lifetime, and I'm not subjecting myself to Pokemon ever again.
Oh dear.
I'm sorry. I just get me to play Breath of the Wild or something I might actually enjoy or something. I'm never playing a Pokemon game ever. I'm done. We're some of the worst games I've ever played in my life. Rather play freaking Barbie Puppy Rescue. I'm dead serious when I say that too. I am not being hyperbolic in any way, shape, or form. I would rather play Barbie Puppy Rescue where you have to comb the puppy and get like the parasites out of its fur and like bathe them and stuff than go through another Pokemon game. Like my soul was literally dying as I was playing that game. You have no idea. I hated you. I hated you when I was playing that game.
Oh, dude.
I was like, I can't believe
bad.
Well, and people are like, well, you picked the wrong one because it's the worst game. It's like, yeah, I think every Pokemon game is like this. Thank God for Lord Addict, who basically gave me like level 999 level Pokemon that I could just literally one kill all the enemies in the game because.
Wait. Addict helps you cheat?
Yeah, he gave me like...
Oh, man,
he gave me like who's the dragon one? The orange dragon guy? Charizard or something?
Oh, man.
He gave me like a super powerful Charizard. And it's just like, here, beat the game. So I did, and I'm like, I don't care if I'm cheating. Like I want this. I want this experience done and over with. Can't stand this game.
Okay.
I don't care what
Okay.
Miles Dompier says.
I accept it.
Yeah.
I accept it.
T. Tucker says, I'm working, so just stopping by. GPU is up in November, and I won't be renewing until Game Pass gets better. Shame. Hey, man, it's your money. You do what you want with it. So, if you don't think it's worth the money, then it ain't worth the money. Tito says, Randolph, what difficulty are you playing Doom on? I beat Doom on normal difficulty. As for this recording, I have no idea what difficulty I put this on. I might have put it on easy just to get footage. But when I played through the game originally, I was playing it on normal. I don't typically play games like when I was hunting for achievements. If there was difficulty achievements for like hard difficulties, that's what I would play on. But normally, I'm just looking to experience the game. Like it's like whatever. So I played Doom on normal difficulty.
I actually reviewed Doom on the difficulty above normal, like their hard mode. And I thought it was like a good, solid challenge, and like not too hard. But it was like, yeah, this feels a lot more nerve-wracking now. But then I came to the DLC on hard
DLC mode. Was hard. Holy cow,
dude!
Man, was like, the DLC difficult?
I was just like, I can't do this. I literally cannot do this on hard. So I bump it down to normal, and I still haven't finished it.
See, most times when I'll play, I'll put it on normal, and then if I find it too easy, I'll bump it up to hard. You know, I think with that, I remember playing that. I think I had Doom on hard, and then like I was like, damn, I need to turn this way down because oh my god, was the difficulty insane on those DLCs. So
yeah, it was crazy hard. I mean, it's kind of what. I almost feel like it's kind of what you want out of a DLC, like to take the challenge up a bit for people who are really hardcore into it. But they went kind of overboard, difficult in that. But I don't
know. Let's see what else we got here. We got Hero, who's been a member for 4 months, says Fable Collection. I'm going to die on this hill. Gears is a dead beast. I feel Doom is more Gears than Gears at this point. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Shrimp emoji. So
Shrimpy.
Hero wants a Fable Collection. You know, that could deserve your remakes. Those
are remake that. Remake Fable 1. You know, that is a classic game that is very aged not great. So that is one game that does deserve a remake.
They actually did though. They did remake it or remastered it. Fable Anniversary. They did that. You just don't remember it, do you?
No.
Yeah, they did the Fable Anniversary. They haven't done anything for 2 or 3. So, yeah, but those are 2 games that, you know, if you wanted to remake, would really benefit from. Chris R. says, would you guys still consider Gears a powerhouse franchise? If not, what needs to happen to get it back? I hope it comes back to glory. Well, this is Jez's franchise. So I guess I'll let him answer this question. Is Gears still a powerhouse franchise, guys? Jez? Speak from your heart. Tell the truth. Is it still a powerhouse franchise?
It is not.
Oh, man, Miles is hating you right now in the chat. Not, you know.
It's just the reality of it. And I think honestly with Gears, it's a lack of innovation. Like Gears 1 practically plays like Gears 5. And they very softly dip their toes in a sort of vertical progression system, and it was still like it was a great step in the right direction, but it was only a step, and it was the tiniest of steps. Gears needs a radical rethink, like Resident Evil 7. Like Resident Evil 7 completely upended the formula, modernized it for a new environment, and sort of gave it the refresh that it really needed to be relevant again. I think Gears needs that as well. They need to drop their existing code and just start from scratch and make it feel not exactly like Gears 1, you know, because they do feel so similar to each other. So I think that's why it isn't a powerhouse franchise anymore. It's just the same thing over and over and over. And I like that sort of consistency, but I'm kind of ready for something new out of Gears. So Gears 6 needs to do something radically different. I've always said they should invest more in their melee combat system. You give these dudes a literal chainsaw, and you can only do one attack with the chainsaw, or well, two. Well, I suppose like if you count like the chainsaw battle as a third attack,
Okay,
you
yeah.
can chainsaw from the back, you can chainsaw from behind, and you can do the lance battle where you spam a button. Why can't I slash with the chainsaw? Why can't I, shank people with the chainsaw? It just feels like they need to do something more with it. And people in the chat are pushing back on this. You can push back all you want, but I'm right. The reason Gears is not a powerhouse franchise anymore is because it's not innovating. Yeah. But we'll see what happens with the sixth one, But I think Microsoft's afraid to innovate sometimes. I think Microsoft's so afraid of their communities. Like, I remember the discussion about should Halo have a sprint? Like it's like this huge big deal. Should Halo have sprint? Like it's a big sort of like it's a huge, massive discussion and argument about like should Halo have the most basic form of modernized FPS combat in sprint? There are kids who just like have grown up expecting to have some form of sprint in their games. I don't know,
Man,
but it is what it is.
Jez Corden, the Gears fanatic, the lover of the franchise, says it's not a powerhouse franchise anymore. I'm shocked to say I thought you were saying yeah and then have a but to hear you say it's not, man.
It's just true. You can't lie about these things sometimes.
I still think Gears is a very popular franchise.
It's recognizable, but it has a lot of value, but it needs to innovate.
But I think it's also like Halo. I think it's fallen from its heights. When Gears was at its most popular, it's definitely fallen off that. Not saying that it can't get back. Maybe this time off for the Coalition before they get back to Gears 6 and, a couple years, few years, maybe that helps out. Maybe that actually makes people miss Gears. Although if they do a Gears collection, I don't know how you're making people miss Gears if you're just here's Gears again. Enjoy. I don't know. Well, damn.
I actually think Microsoft just has a general innovation problem.
Oh, okay.
I think a generalized innovation problem where they're too scared of betraying their communities to try anything new. And I think that's how franchises die, frankly. And people might not like to hear that, but it's a fact, baby. It's a fact.
We got Sylar saying, "I refuse to believe The Last of Us remake is real. It has to be a director's right. Most bizarre remake decision I've seen." Well, I mean, judging from everything, it sounds real. Jeff Grubb's saying he's heard it might be coming out this holiday. And for those of you upset at me for saying I'm not interested in playing Gears remake or Gears 2 and 3, I'm also not interested in replaying The Last of Us. Like I played Last of Us on the PS4, and then I just played Last of Us 2, 2 years ago? Like, I'm really not interested in playing The Last of Us remake. I'm sorry. I'm not saying The Last of Us isn't a great game, because I think it is. I'm just, at least what I'm picturing in my head what a remake would be, I just really don't care. Give me that Dead Space remake, Jeez. I care about that. Yeah.
I actually think a Last of Us remake could be cool. Like,
that's because you never played it.
Deepens. I did play The Last of Us, actually. I've completed The Last of Us. Thank you very much. I don't have the platinum trophy or anything, but
I don't get the platinum either, but Jez, you see this?
It's one of the few Sony games I have completed. The Last of Us. Because I like zombie apocalypses, man.
You see this info that just came out that Comcast almost merged with EA a couple years ago, apparently?
Yeah, I did see that. But that headline makes it look like it's happening, but
I know it does.
It's in the past tense. They tried to merge and it failed. Comcast also tried to buy Blizzard, which I don't know. I'm not that familiar with Comcast. Can you enlighten me as an ignorant Brit? What is Comcast?
So the internet I have is Xfinity, which is Comcast. So they're one of the biggest like internet providers out there. They're also I think they bought like Universal, so they
Oh, right.
also are a big like entertainment company and
Oh,
stuff.
so they're kind of like Disney or whatever?
Well, kind of, but no. Like Comcast kind of like owns the internet, right? They're one of the big internet providers in the world.
Well, they own the whole internet.
Well, I mean, like, I'm not saying they
got
own,
it like
but
in,
like,
in a cupboard.
like you don't go to
there.
Disney for internet, but you go to Comcast for internet, right? And like NBC, Universal is like a bunch of different channels or whatever. Comcast would own those. I mean, they're a big media conglomerate essentially.
A lot of people seem to hate them. Like a lot of people in the chat
Yeah.
saying Comcast sucks. I hate Comcast.
Yeah, Comcast
Damn,
isn't the best.
people do not like Comcast.
No,
So
yeah.
you're telling me it's a good thing that they didn't buy?
Probably, yeah. Probably a good thing they didn't buy EA. So yeah,
Is it worse than Activision buying?
Is it worse? Like, what do you mean? Is what worse?
Would it be worse? Because Blizzard used to be separate from Activision, and Activision merged with Blizzard, right?
Yes.
So if Comcast had bought Blizzard, that would have been even worse than what Activision has done to Blizzard.
Well, would it? Because isn't the Blizzard decline strictly because of Activision? Maybe they would have been better under Comcast.
Yeah,
I mean, they could they have been worse under? I mean, they were pretty bad under Activision, so you know, maybe Blizzard doesn't fall off if they're with Comcast, but who knows? Interesting though. Interesting. You hear about all these things. Arigato Sir says, shout out to Jez for getting me into Hearthstone. Man, you should be a Hearthstone influencer, bro.
Yeah, a few people have messaged me saying like they started playing it since I started talking about it on Twitter. It's a good game, man. I don't care. It's fun. It's addictive. I suck at it so bad, but like when you get those combos and those wins, man, it feels so damn good. It's just an addictive game, and I've probably spent more on Hearthstone than I have on any game this year. Actually, that's not true. That's not true because I bought the Elden Ring Collector's Edition, which was expensive as hell. So, Elden Ring's the game I spend the most on, but Hearthstone is definitely number 2.
Jez was telling me,
man.
Jez was telling me in the DMs earlier this week that he wants to be on some World of Warcraft podcasts.
Yeah, that's right. I'm guesting on a World of Warcraft podcast in a few weeks.
So if anybody's listening, you got a World of Warcraft podcast, Jez wants on it.
Hell yeah.
What are you talking about in a World of Warcraft podcast, I wonder?
The lore, the gameplay, the meta. God, there's loads of stuff you could talk about.
The lore.
The lore, yeah.
The lore, please.
What do you mean, please? There's way more lore in Warcraft than there is in any Xbox franchise.
Unbelievable. Anyways, if you do us a favor, can you guys please hit that like button? If you haven't already, we got over 500. Let's see if we can get it close to 700 before the show ends. Really appreciate it. Yeah, we are with like 1380, almost 1400 people watching the show on this beautiful Friday. Air conditioning is on because it's hot here in Chicago. And Jez says that Gears is not a powerhouse franchise anymore, so take that. Danny Mitchell says, hey guys, we saw Minecraft ray tracing running on a Series X over 1.5 years ago. Why no release? Is it literally just about migrating worlds? A big hitter if they needed it. I hate Minecraft, but still. Yeah, we've talked about this. They released like the Minecraft ray tracing stuff, and then we're like, oops, it's a mistake. Why does Mojang act like they're not even an Xbox studio? They just seem to do whatever they want and get whenever they want it. You know?
I think Mojang is probably, for Xbox fans, the least sort of impressive acquisition they've made. Like, considering that the Xbox version of the game cannot be considered the flagship version. It doesn't have shaders. It doesn't have ray tracing. It doesn't have a lot of the mods. So, you know, it's kind of disappointing to see how Minecraft on Xbox is such a second-class game. And it's not for lack of money. Because Minecraft is supposedly a powerhouse game, one of the biggest media properties out there. Minecraft Lego, Minecraft books, toys, Minecraft is one of the biggest topics on YouTube. Like, you're telling me you can't afford to do it, Microsoft? The Xbox version of Minecraft is a joke compared to the PC, and it's not okay. It's not okay. Well, what can you do? We've complained and bitched about it. Zachary Body, my colleague on Windows Central, has written a bunch of editorials about it, but they don't listen, And then they do things like slap the community in the face by releasing ray tracing and then saying it's a mistake. It's just disappointing. But I don't know. Hopefully we'll see better results out of the Bethesda acquisition for Xbox fans, because the Minecraft one ain't really been that great for Xbox, I don't think.
George says Coalition should have done that spy game they teased, which was Shanghaiist.
I always thought that was Perfect Dark.
Maybe it is.
I always thought that was like an unbranded Perfect Dark pitch. That's why I saw that and immediately thought, that's Perfect Dark. But I don't know. Could be wrong.
Richie Torres says Gears Gaiden, fast-paced hack and slash Gears game. Oh, I'll take that. Gears with the sword, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
George also
Gears,
says Forza Horizon Sea of Thieves overtook Halo and Gears in popularity. Well, I wouldn't say Halo, but you can definitely argue the other two overtook Gears for sure.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves is a pretty big franchise. Like, I was surprised the other day. I saw like a Sea of Thieves meme that I would have thought that's pretty niche, but it had like loads of upvotes on Reddit, and I was like, man, a lot of people play and are aware of this game. It's becoming a thing. Sea of Thieves kind of reminds me of like, Five Nights at Freddy's or whatever, popular with very passionate kind of niche. I don't know, but yeah, I think Gears 5 is sort of in that sort of. It reminds me of Resident Evil when it hit like Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, where they were kind of like trying to figure out where to take the franchise next. And Resident Evil had that radical change. And that sort of, it made, even though Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8 was such a departure gameplay-wise, in a lot of ways, from the perspective shift, it drove a halo effect over like even the classic gameplay. Like Resident Evil 2 remake was absolutely brilliant, even though it was still that classic gameplay. So, I don't know. I'll have to wait and see.
Corky.
Apparently, sorry, well, I was just going to say, The Last of Us says Americans say niche instead of niche. Is that true?
Niche.
You say niche, not niche.
I think that game. Switch? I think that game is pretty niche. I
you say niche, not niche.
Niche. I mean, I guess I say both. I don't know. Depends.
You were a poll in chat. Niche or niche? We're a poll in chat.
You ask the people. I mean, I don't know how I would put that in. Like, they're both spelled the same.
No, spell niche with a T. N-I-T.
And I say, do you say niche?
Niche or niche?
Niche. Niche or niche? I don't think people care.
Niche. I'm intrigued, but I was also going to say that someone said like a Gears hack and slash game. Was it Gears 4 or 5 where they sort of go into the ancient history of the Gears universe, and there's like cog knights in a tomb or something, like statues that look like Roman knights and stuff. Could they do like a Gears game that's like in the distant past, like dealing with some quasi locust or something? Because I know the locusts are genetically engineered or whatever. But even the DLC for Gears 5 showed us that the world is a lot bigger than just the continent where they battle the locust and the I can't remember what the new locust called. What are they called? The new locust.
Lambent?
Locust 2.
No, that was from 3.
Lambent was 3. What do they call them? I can't even remember. See, this is the thing, man. Like, we talk about innovation. They got rid of the locust, and then they brought them back. Slightly different locust, That is not innovation, because everyone hated the DBs. Everyone hates.
Oh,
Nobody
the
likes fighting
robots. Yeah.
DBs. Yeah, no one likes fighting DBs. I remember the DBs. Why can't I remember what the bloody the
And
swarm? That's it.
this.
Nearly crazy.
Yeah,
The
I was about
swarm.
to say you're the Gears fan. You can't remember.
Man, I swear, as I get older, my memory gets worse and worse and worse. Like my brain pushes out so much information because I'm trying to stuff Hearthstone meta into this ear, and it pushes out the name of Gears 4 and 5's enemy out the other ear.
Mm.
The swarm, yeah. But I don't know.
Corky McCork says, "Do you think there's any surprises for Xbox this year?" Hi from Scotland. Well, hello. Hi from Chicago, and hi from wherever Jez is
there.
at. Where are you at today, Jez?
I'm in Germany, but from the next show, I'll be in England again.
There you go. Yeah. You know, interesting. I wanted to ask you, Jez. You tweeted something out about the showcase that you're pleasantly optimistic about the showcase.
I am, yeah.
What suddenly has you saying this? Have you been told something? Like, why are you suddenly pleasantly optimistic?
Just looking back through all of my notes, because like I say, I've got a bad memory, right? So I've been trying to organize all the code names and all my notes and all my expected timelines, sort of based on the age of the documents against the against comparing it to the delay some of the games have received, sort of trying to work out where some of these games could land. And I think if you extrapolate from that, there could be a lot of games launching between now and the next E3. I think we're going to see Contraband. I think we're going to see Project Belfry. I think we could also see Indus, and also another project code name called Chinook, which I believe came up in the NVIDIA leaks. So I know that's legit now. So there's a lot of interesting stuff on the horizon, I think. So that's why, Rand. That's why.
That's not good enough. I need something more from you.
You need something more from me? Well, you're not getting it.
Well,
you're not getting it.
Why can't I have it?
Because you can't have it. You can't have it, mate. Can't have it. Are you optimistic, Rand?
Depends. I guess. I don't know. It depends on what Xbox decides to do. You know, like what they what they it depends on what they want to show. Do they want to highlight just stuff coming between now and next year? Do they want to go a little bit further? I guess it depends on the pace of the show, how much gameplay versus CGI there is. Are we getting release dates or at least release years targets? I mean, I'm always excited for showcases. Don't get me wrong. This one is just. I could see this year's show being a 10 out of 10. And it's everything people want. And they get all these, like, oh, look at all these great games. Look at all these games coming next year. Like, holy cow, this is exactly what I wanted. But then I could easily see the show being like a 7. Just being like, okay, but not exactly what I was looking forward to. So there's kind of, I don't know. I don't even know how to like really describe it. Just, it really falls into the execution and what their plans are, to be honest. I mean, I know what I want from Xbox, and if I get it, well, I want to see gameplay for stuff launching. I want to know what their lineup is for next year, because me and you have been saying on this podcast, I don't know how long, that the games from their first party, because you got people out here talking about management problems, right? That Xbox can't get stuff out there. And I disagree, because I knew there was nothing from Xbox's first party this year. Outside of maybe like Forza Motorsport and a couple smaller projects. So to me, it's like, well, Starfield and Redfall getting delayed doesn't showcase management issues, because it's just, they acquired all these studios a few years ago. They're all working on these projects, and the timetable for them to release is essentially 2023. Probably would have been 2022 if it wasn't for COVID, but everything got pushed like 6 months to a year. So I'm like, all right, well, I don't agree with management problems because I don't see there being any yet. But if we go to the showcase and they don't really talk about next year outside of like Starfield and Redfall, and they don't really have much for next year, I'm going to really start kind of like really with a hard look being like, something's wrong then. Because just off of like, Contraband, Avowed, Hellblade, Project Belfry, and all these other things, like we had counted like, I don't know, 7 games for next year, not even including stuff like what is it, like Overwatch 2 or Diablo 4 from the Activision acquisitions or any of that stuff, or any of the stuff that we don't know about from Bethesda. And it's just like, at some point those first party games got to come, and it's like it's been enough time. So like, I know what I want. I want to see hey, show me a trailer that says Avowed and then says 2023. I don't even need a particular window. Just show me the games that are coming next year, right? And then I'll be good. I just want to know the roadmap. Like, I don't expect like Fable or Perfect Dark or any of the other stuff, because I've always thought those were out later. But they should have a bunch of games next year. And if they don't have a bunch of games next year, then I'll be sitting there thinking, well, maybe there is issues. Because if you're going to have 24 studios and you have all these studios starting making games in 2018 and 2019 and it's already 2023 and none of them can get anything out, like, that seems like that could be an issue. Which is why I don't think it's an issue particularly right now, simply because I wasn't expecting anything, because we knew what we knew, what the internal roadmap was. And it was like, okay, well, there's nothing. I mean, how often do we sit here and say, hey, Xbox fans, you're going to have to get through 2021 and 2022 to get to 2023 because there's nothing. And the Bethesda acquisition was great because at least 2022 had games then. And we're like, oh, well, you got Redfall and you got Starfield. Like, that's covered at least. And then that evaporated into nothing. Last year was only going to be Forza Horizon 5. Until Halo and Psychonauts 2 got delayed from 2020, right? So me and you both knew that there was nothing from first party essentially set to launch until 2023. So, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the fruits of these acquisitions, from Undead Labs to Obsidian to inXile to Ninja Theory to all these things. And that's
I think
what I expect.
I don't know. Some people call it social capital, right? When you sort of like, you're in a friendship with someone and they take the piss a little bit. Sometimes like you can accept it and be like, yeah, maybe they had a bad day or whatever. But if they do it the next time, maybe you're a little less willing to accept it. And they do it the next time, you're a little less willing to accept it. I think a lot of people are in the core community, at least, are reaching their limit with Xbox's social capital. I think they're at their credit limit. Microsoft's at its credit limit, and people are just like, we're just fed up of like not knowing what's coming, not knowing when it's coming, not being able to trust the consistency, the quality issues, and are we getting AA games? Is Xbox just going to be forever the AA studio? And the whole narrative of, games that are, Game Pass fodder, as they call it. Is that the way it's going to be forever? And I think people really want to just feel like that's not the case. And while I still have the faith that COVID is a lot to blame for what's happening right now, a lot of people don't. And I kind of appreciate that. I kind of appreciate people that sort of have hit that limit. And I think Microsoft's going to have to respond to some of that criticism. But at the same time, I think that's very insular towards the core community. But these shows are for the core community. And we talked at the start of the show about the bubble and the narratives exist in the bubble, but sometimes they can leak out of the bubble and start affecting the narrative of the common customer, which makes up by far the bulk of Xbox fans, really, or well, Xbox users, I should say. People who just like play COD, Fortnite every year in year out. Call of Duty is running out of social capital too. Like a lot of people are just like, this is just, they're getting to a point where they can't even get away with it in Call of Duty anymore, which is problematic for them. So I want to believe that they will deliver and cut through that narrative, and I do believe it, and that's why I'm optimistic for the show.
Yeah. PVT Ghost says with the Activision acquisition, maybe PGR back compat. Why would the Activision deal matter on that? Microsoft owns the Project Gotham license, or they own the IP. I think it's just music licenses that probably prevent that from happening.
Yeah, it's just music licenses for that. Which is why we even see Forza games get delisted and shit.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to delist Forza Horizon 4. Because normally it's every 4 years, which would be this year. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if Forza Horizon 4 gets delisted. Jacqueline says, you guys know Phil. What's your thoughts on Jaffe saying he needs therapy and has an ego problem for not hiring people for better management? I mean, Jaffe is entitled to his own opinion like everybody else. I think Jaffe's wrong about it. And that's really all I have to say about it.
I have often wondered, there is this thing in Microsoft where I think certain people have a level of political clout that prevents them from getting fired, even if they haven't really done anything particularly amazing. But that's just an assumption. It's hard to know a lot about what goes on behind the scenes, but sometimes I do think like a lot of Microsoft's approaches to things is a little bit outdated. Like we only saw them start to really take social media seriously in the last maybe 3 or 4 years. Before then, they were pretty bad at social media, as well, and they've only got better at it more recently. And part of me wonders did it take them so long to get there because they've got this resistance in some of their management layers? And that's the reason I think about this, is because I see it in my own bloody company. I see it in the company I work for, where it's like they've often got this old-fashioned way of thinking about things. Like none of our sites has a social media strategy. I do all that. I do all of Windows Central social media strategy on the side as a hobby. It's not part of my job. If you look at some of the other sites under our company, they don't have any social media strategy at all. And I think that's a pretty old-fashioned way of thinking about things. And I think that's because some people are in higher places that don't really think innovatively. I don't know. But that's me projecting, I guess.
Was it? Yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with Jaffe, so he can say whatever he wants. Eternal Shaddai says, will we see by any chance Project Mara even deeper in the Xbox Bethesda showcase? Possible. I do think Hellblade 2 releases first, but maybe Project Mars there as well. It's funny, Jez. Little small fact, which I don't know if it really means anything significant other than Xbox is doing better than usual in Japan, but it outsold the PlayStation this past week for the first time in 8 years. So I think what were the numbers?
It was
the Series S on its own outsold the PS5. So the Series S sold 6,000 units, where the PS5 and the PS5 Digital Edition showed a combined 2,600 units. Of course, people were kind of like, hey, interesting. It doesn't really mean much. But man, this really pissed off a couple people. This really...
It did.
Really pissed off some commentators, some writers for certain websites that are basically thinly veiled console fanboys.
It's
And
not so thinly veiled in
well,
some
not
cases.
so thinly veiled. They're definitely out there with their full biases showing, which, yeah, everybody knows context, dude. Everybody knows that Xbox isn't going to outsell PlayStation in Japan, and that PlayStation's has a lot more consoles sold. People were just like, "Hey, this is oh wow, look at that! You know, this console that's Xbox that's sold. Like, man, that's funny." And like some people are just like, "How dare you!" Like, whoa, they get so angry at this, and it's just sad to see. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Xbox seems to be doing a lot better than like because right now the Xbox Series X and S consoles have sold 142,000 units, which if you're talking the USA, those would be cataclysmic numbers, right? Or any other basic territory, those would be awful numbers. But for Japan, for Xbox, hey, it's pretty good. You know, better than the Xbox One. It's already outsold the Xbox One in Japan, which sold 114,000. Not as good as the 360, which sold 1.6 million. Could it reach the Xbox 360 numbers? I don't know. That's still like 1.5 million behind, so probably not. And even the OG Xbox sold 470,000. Could it reach those numbers? Maybe over the course of time, especially if maybe Xbox gets more stock in the area or they get more Japanese titles. But I don't know if they could ever come to the 360. I don't know. What you mentioned that this is good to see though, Jez, right? You think?
Yeah, I mean, when I covered it, I kind of wrote that it's more indicative of stock fluctuations than anything else. Like, if you see like the week over week, PlayStation had like thousands of units, and then they went from thousands of units to like hundreds of units week over week. They're still selling out pretty much all the stock they have, and it's just a case of like, yeah, they outsold PlayStation, but it's mainly just because of stock fluctuations. But it's still a positive sign that Microsoft is selling out of all its stock too, because if you do look at the week over week, the same happens for Xbox, is that they completely sell out of their stock one week, and then the next week they've got none left. Like, they literally last week they had like a few thousand Xbox Series X sold, and then this week I think it was like 100 because they'd sold out of them all. So right now it seems like both consoles are selling out of all the stock they get in, which I think's, you know, pretty positive sign. I think like when people compare consoles to the 360 generation, we weren't really in the service game / mobile gaming era. So there's a different competition dynamic that didn't exist back then. And also definitely a monetization dynamic. I think like nowadays you can monetize a lot better with less units than you could back then, just because of microtransactions that didn't really exist in the same amount, if at all. That being said, it's not a bad thing by any means, and hopefully we'll see Xbox continue to try and grow there. They've hired a load of producers and people in that sort of field to try and push their platform and grow and engage with developers, because they know they've got an issue with culture in Japan. Like, they don't really have the connections and the business stuff in place, and they don't really know anyone. Like, they clearly feel a lot more comfortable in America than other regions. But it looks like they're trying to fix that. They've been hiring, and it's just cool to see. They've ultimately, because Western Xbox fans have asked them to, I guess. I've got an article coming in a week or so, or maybe 2 weeks, that'll cover this in a bit more depth. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's cool.
No, so I said the Series S and X have sold 140,000, but that's wrong. It's over 200,000. So
Yeah, it's nice.
I mean, I guess it's possible it'll catch the OG Xbox. I don't know if it'll ever catch the 360, but you know, coming off the Xbox One gen, you didn't really think Japan would embrace the Xbox again, but seems like they're doing pretty good. I just the need to defend PlayStation over this being like gamers taking the blue pill, context. The PlayStation's 1. Was like the guy was like
tripping over himself to defend Sony.
He's just
defend
like
Sony's honor.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Nobody's making this out to be bigger than it is, man. But he just had to defend it. Yeah. So we also have an interesting thing from Ben Smith, who is I think like the president of Microsoft, where he said that the Activision deal is actually progressing and it's moving fast. Jazz, you want me to read the quote here to you?
Well, before then, I wanna get to Stephen McIntosh's super chat because we missed it.
Oh,
apparently.
Did we miss it?
He said, "Have we heard anything about the Banjo remake rumors? All good. You seem busy." Because I asked him why his super chat was. Sorry about that, mate. I haven't heard anything about Banjo remake. Have you, Rand?
I mean, I've heard some rumors. I don't know if they're true, and they're not for me to repeat because they're not my rumors and not my thing. So I don't know. I mean,
they're positive rumors.
Yeah, but I don't think they're true. So
right. I think if Microsoft closes the deal with Activision Blizzard, we could see a studio like Toys for Bob pick up Banjo, but until then, I don't know who would even work on it. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But you were talking about the Activision. Speaking of Activision Blizzard, you were speaking about Microsoft president.
Yes, president and vice chair. Was asked about
Brad Smith.
Yes, he was asked about the progress on the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and he said, "This is progressing quickly, at least fast enough for an acquisition of this size. We receive requests for information on the subject here in Brussels, but also in London and Washington. We answer questions, give briefings, and give the requested information. One of our lawyers summed up the situation well by saying, quote, 'We are coming to the end of the beginning, and now we are starting the beginning of the middle. It's a long process, and we are still at the stage where we answer questions. For us, of course, the faster this is done, the better, but we will respect the process.'" So, seems like it's going good. They're in the middle. Still, it's a long process. I still think it closes early next year. You have any other takeaways from this?
I think it's cool that he put this out there, and it shows like the amount of work they're putting in. The fact that he's literally in Europe to speak to the European Union and then doing press in Belgium, is like speaks to the amount of work they're putting in to get this closed across the whole company to me. And also like Brad Smith's kind of awesome as well. Like he blogs on Xbox on Microsoft.com all the time, and he's very frank and upfront, which is really refreshing for a tech company. Like Apple just, kind of like this silent behemoth. And like Facebook only puts out statements when they're struggling with scandals. Brad Smith's out here talking about all kinds of stuff. So I just love covering Microsoft because they're so open as a company. But that's off topic slightly. But yeah, I'm kind of like you that we're a long way from it actually finishing. A lot of people have said to me in DMs like, "Oh my God, does this mean the deal's like secretly finished?" And I was like, no, we're a long way away from that. I'm like you. I think it closes like next year or so, and hopefully we can start getting some, more quality out of Blizzard. Because I think Activision is just a company that strikes me as a cut corners company. They're like, how much can we bleed out of this franchise before everyone gets pissed off at us? They did it to Guitar Hero, they did it to Skylanders, they're doing it to Call of Duty, and they're doing it to Warcraft as well. So the faster we can get Blizzard away and Call of Duty, frankly, away from Kotick, the better. But yeah, we just have to wait. But I do think it'll go through. There's no argument against it. Dio Game says, "Will we see StarCraft again under MS Blizzard?" I think so.
I think so
Phil,
too.
Phil literally name-checked StarCraft, I think.
Yeah,
That's indicative of what they want to do with some of those franchises.
I think we'll see StarCraft again. Tommy Hatcher says you missed my super chat, and I look for it. I found it here. He says, Gears tried to innovate with Gears Judgment, and it's awful. The worst in the series. Leave my Gears alone. Hashtag bone cream. And Nick Prime says we missed his too, and I found his. And he says, anything on Killer Instinct?
I haven't got anything new on Killer Instinct. Personally, I don't think it's happening anymore. I think I have vague rumors.
You don't think it's happening anymore, so you think? Wait.
No, I mean I don't think it was ever a thing.
Oh, so you're calling out Nick here, huh? You're just a dick from special ed. You think he was wrong about this?
Well, I don't know if we had rumors from similar sources or whatever, but I had like this vague rumor that Bandai Namco is involved, but I don't think that was a true rumor at all. So for me, I don't think it's happening. I don't think it was ever happening. But I could be wrong.
Interesting.
I want to believe, but I don't.
All right, well,
Phil did say they wanted to bring it back.
No Killer Instinct, according to Jez, and that's not going to be an article because that's not news people want to read.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm just saying I don't believe it. But could be wrong. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Interesting. I don't know what to think here. Atlas is asking in their survey recently, Jez, if they do this all the time. What platforms they want people play play these games on, and Persona's one of them, and they're asking if you'd want to play Persona on Xbox.
Yeah.
So I guess the question then becomes: is Persona finally going to come to Xbox?
That was my biggest article of the week.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of people really want Persona on Xbox. And apparently this survey goes out every year and they ask the same question every year and probably ignore Xbox fans every year. So I wouldn't get your hopes up that it means anything because this ain't not the first time they've put this out. That said, it's better than them not having the option of putting Xbox in there, right?
That said, I believe a couple weeks ago we talked about somebody who correctly leaked something that you knew about, and then also had talked about, I think, like Persona 4 Golden coming to Xbox or something. So you were kind of the opinion that that's probably true. Do you remember this? You probably don't.
I do. Yeah, I do remember this.
Yeah.
I said that Brad Smith. No, not Brad Smith. I said that.
Jeez, where's your head at?
I don't know. I told you earlier. I'm tired. I didn't sleep very well last night, so I apologize, guys. But, I said that there was some guy on Reset Era who had predicted a few things correctly. Also said that Microsoft had landed Persona, which raised my intrigue level in that rumor. Because if he got one thing right, maybe he's got this right as well. But I haven't got information on my end at the moment.
Okay, fair enough. And Fall Guys finally is coming to Xbox on June 20th, and they're moving it to free to play. Is this something that you're interested in, Jez?
Fall Guys, yeah, actually, I'm interested in Fall Guys. I'm not in a mood to play any game that's too deep right now. I'm not in a mood to play like a Death Stranding or a deep story-driven game where I have to pay attention. I like playing games at the moment. And I don't know if it's just because of my workload, but I'm really into games where I don't have to think too hard right now. And Fall Guys is kind of the game where you really don't have to think too hard. So it's a kind of game I want to play right now. Sort of therapeutic, turn your brain off, and then zerg through a mad rush. I played it on PC. I think it's pretty fun. Are you interested at all? You're going to give it a try?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to play it. I've never played it, so, I'll for sure check it out. We got Sherman Jacobs in the chat asking if we have any information on the Forza Horizon 5 expansion. I do not.
No, I do not either.
I'm
pretty light on information at the minute, actually, thinking about it.
I would actually think it's going to be revealed at the showcase and maybe even dropping close to the showcase, but maybe it's not.
Shadow drop?
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe a shadow drop because normally the Lego Speedway one launched like 2 or 3 days later. and that was the second expansion. But like with COVID and everything, we know we get 2 more expansions. I wonder if that sort of pushed back some of the dates for these expansions. So maybe we'll see it there. Mario wants to know if the GoldenEye remaster is still coming to Xbox. They haven't announced it, but we've seen the achievements. There's a possibility it's announced at the showcase and then released. I think the 25th anniversary is in August. So maybe they try to get it out for the 25th anniversary. Although I don't know how the Russia-Ukraine war might affect that.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the game that Nick is like, hey, if they have GoldenEye for this year, then they win 2022. And it's like, Nick.
GoldenEye.
It's like, it's a game from 1990. Who cares? You know? But that Nick is weird like that, so. Yeah, you know what? Since Jez is a little bit tired, I figured we'll end the show here. And we'll take some questions. So if you guys want anything to ask us, make sure to just add us in the chat, and I'll go through them, and we'll do our best to answer each and every one of them. Thank you guys so much for being here, hanging out, all the support, all the comments, all the super chats, the new channel members. Awesome. You guys are always amazing. Thank you guys so much. And this will be up on iTunes and all those great places. If you do us a favor, if you listen there, please, please review the show. Give us a 5-star or 1-star, depending on what you want. Write a review. We'd appreciate that very much as well. So make sure you hit the like button on the way out. We had almost 1,500 people, which is amazing.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, we got like almost 3 hours later, and there's still basically 1,200 people here, which is incredible. So you guys are the reasons we do this every single week.
Or most weeks.
Most weeks. Hey, we're on a roll, man. We've been doing Friday for a while now, which is great. So
we landed it.
Yeah, we'll hopefully be back next Friday to talk more about some of the things going on. Relic says, can you tell us more about new code names, Jez? Is there an article incoming?
Yeah, because I mentioned a new code name earlier.
Yes, Chinook.
Chinook.
Yeah, but
I don't know if people are out there.
Chinook's an old one, though.
Is it not? Is it not out there though?
I don't think so.
Is it out there?
No, I don't.
It's an older code. It's an older code name, but it checks out.
It checks out, but I'm not.
See that Star Wars reference?
Yes,
there?
Yes. It's older, but it checks out. I'm not sure. This.
I'm not leaking information about it though at the moment.
The problem with this one,
before you say.
The problem with this one is I think this one could be PC exclusive though.
No,
you don't think it is?
No, I think it's coming to Xbox.
But what about Indus? What about Indus? That's probably the PC exclusive, right?
I think that's coming to Xbox too.
Really? At the same time.
Indus, at the same time, I don't know. It might be a Gears Tactics sort of thing where they try and nail the PC experience first, and then bring it to Xbox later. But we know Age of Empires is coming, and
that's true.
Indus and Chinook are similar-esque games in that they're both strategy games, and but they're more accessible strategy games. They're both going to be not like super complex, uber micro actions per minute, sort of hardcore like Age of Empires is. These are sort of going to be more accessible. So yeah, I think they will come to Xbox, and I think they'll be very playable with a controller. But we'll have to wait and see.
Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Tim says he blames Pete Hines for everything wrong at Bethesda. I don't know about that, but
isn't Pete the marketing?
Yeah,
dude?
Pete's marketing guy.
Can't blame him for marketing unless he forced them at gunpoint to announce a launch date.
John says, any more news on Forza Motorsport supporting Xbox One? No, unfortunately. We don't even know if Forza Motorsport's launching this year. We assume it is. That's like the most likeliest candidate, but
I think if Forza Motorsport comes to Xbox One, it'd be via the cloud.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong, because people are thinking this because there was a beta build that was targeting Xbox One, I believe, right?
There was a build in the insider thing for Forza, and people were using. Yeah. There weren't enough next gen consoles to test stuff, so they were using Xbox Ones and One X's to test
Right.
like multiplayer features and like some of the physics stuff or whatever. So I don't think it necessarily means that it's coming to next gen. It's just that they were testing some of the stuff on current consoles. But
Yeah.
we don't even know if it's coming this year. Like that's if you were to say, what game is most likely to come to Xbox this year, it's Forza Motorsport. But I mean, there's a chance it comes next year instead.
Yeah.
People might say, do we even need a Forza game? We just got Forza Horizon last year, and we're probably getting 2 expansions this year. Do you really need to put another Forza out? And even though Motorsport's really different than Horizon 5, maybe
There's definite overlap.
maybe they move
There
it
is
to next
overlap,
year.
right?
I don't know. Maybe it's just like, listen, we need a game. We need a game. Doesn't matter. Put out Forza Motorsport. I don't know. Horizon Herb says, I think we might see Final Fantasy VII Remake drop on Xbox and Steam next month. Since next month is their anniversary, and we could also see Persona dropping in Game Pass. Maybe show Street Fighter 6 as well. Yeah, I saw something like next month is some...
They're announcing some news about Final Fantasy
Yeah.
VII next month, they said.
Well, here's the thing, though, Jezaruni. PlayStation might have an event next month. And, Final Fantasy Remake 2 is going to be a thing. I would not be surprised if that's exclusive to PlayStation. That could easily be what they're talking about here.
Yeah, and if I was a betting man, I'd bet that is what they're talking about. I've been saying for ages, I don't think people should expect Final Fantasy VII on Xbox anytime soon. And, that's not me saying I have information about that. That's me saying it's the best course of action. We haven't seen a shred of evidence or any information or even the vaguest of rumors from a credible source that Final Fantasy is being worked on for Xbox. I mean, I want to believe they would do it because they're just potentially leaving money on the table there, but I also think Sony's got a lot of money they're putting behind it, and maybe they just don't want to,
Yeah, I think they're trying to turn Final Fantasy into basically a de facto PlayStation exclusive. And
it always was. I remember when Final Fantasy 13 was announced for Xbox, it was a shock.
No, it
because
was.
that was
Well, to be
it was a
fair,
shock.
Final Fantasy started out as a Nintendo exclusive.
Yeah, it did.
Then it switched with Final Fantasy VII. And then people thought Final Fantasy 13 would be on the PS3, but the PS3 was struggling, so they brought it to the 360. And then 13 came, 14 didn't, but 15 came, and then all the other ones sort of did, and then now Remake is skipping, right? 16 is skipping, Forspoken is skipping. I mean, there's a possibility they announce it for Xbox, and then they also announce Remake 2, and then release it on Steam and Xbox or whatever. But I'm kind of with you where I think they're just not going to bother. And if Final Fantasy Remake never comes to Xbox, then Remake 2 and Remake 3 never will either. Because at that point, there's why bother? If you're not going to put the first one on there, you're not going to put the second one on there. So, I mean, I hope for Xbox fans who want the game and don't have a PlayStation or a PC get the game, but I'm going in with expectations that it's not coming to Xbox.
Yeah, I'm going in with that expectation too. And neither's Legend of Mana for Miles.
Punk Soul says, incredible interview of Jez in the Jezcast. So, Tim Brewster says Drunk Jez is greater than Sleepy Jez. That is true.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I just ain't sleeping because it's so damn warm in Germany right now. And I don't have AC.
What's it right now? What's the temperature right now? So it's 5:00 here in Chicago, and it is currently 88 degrees. And with the humidity, it feels like it's 91 degrees outside.
No, I don't know where I actually looked that up. It's 70 degrees Fahrenheit outside.
Oh, that ain't nothing, bro.
Yeah, but it's also midnight.
Oh, well, yeah.
All day it's been 95.
That's hot. That's hot.
And also it's warmer in my room because I got my laptop on, I got the Xbox on, I got triple glazed windows for winter, and no air conditioning. So it does get warm in here. But
Virgil,
I didn't sleep so good last night.
wants to know if somehow both Scalebound and Connect. There's our Scalebound question for the show. If somehow both Scalebound and Connect get revived and you can play Scalebound with Connect, can we get a Randolph or Scalebound Connect playthrough? Oh my god.
God, that's your like nightmare game.
Scalebound Connect, yeah, essentially it would be, or no, a Connect version of Pokemon would be a nightmare game, where you like have to like throw the balls at the Connect or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Marky Kelly says, "You think the Elite Series 3 will show up at the showcase?"
I think that's possible.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say not this year. Flash Gordon says Microsoft just needs to buy everything, then people can cry. Red 13 says, what's the chance Microsoft buys another company right after the Activision acquisition? Maybe that's pretty good. I don't know. I'm reading more about this Comcast EA thing, Jez. They said the deal fell through last month.
Oh shit! I thought it was like historical.
No. Like Jeff, I saw Jeff Keighley say something. Because I didn't read the article. I'm just going off people's tweets because we're doing the show, right? You know, and he tweeted something because it popped up, and it was Electronic Arts was set to merge with NBC Universal. For a source with knowledge of the proposal told Puck News, but the deal fell apart last month. The story says EA also has had talks with Disney, Apple, and Amazon.
Damn. Well, does that indicate then that EA is looking for a buyer? Maybe.
Are they looking for a partner? Because I mean, if you're talking,
a merger, yeah,
a merger. But then again, they would be the ones getting acquired. You're talking about those bigger companies. I wonder if it's like you don't see Sony because I think they're probably out of the price range of PlayStation. Amazon probably needs them if they want any foothold in the gaming industry.
Amazon and Microsoft are under these microscopes right now. Especially Amazon. Like, was it? No, it was Facebook. I was just thinking, like, the FTC has opened up a probe into EA, not EA. God, I'm so tired. Google and Facebook's ad business, and I think like a bunch of senators, bipartisan, Democrat and Republican, have introduced legislation to force Google and Facebook to sell its ad business, which to me seems ridiculous, because that is their entire business model. But they are sort of under a microscope. So I feel like if Amazon tried to buy EA, it'd be another one of them. Even more so than Microsoft, maybe.
But what about
maybe
Disney?
not.
Like Disney sold and got out of the whole making video games, and they just license stuff now. Would they be interested in EA? Apple, it's like, I don't know, man. I know they were talking, but it didn't get far. But apparently this Comcast one almost did. So
it is interesting.
I wonder if Microsoft, if like the Activision deal wasn't happening, would Microsoft be talking to EA? Because they clearly aren't going to be talking to EA while this Activision deal's pending. There's no way they could get away with that.
I do wonder. Maybe this whole FIFA thing with EA was them trying to streamline, like Sega selling off its arcade business. Maybe EA decoupling from FIFA is them trying to be like, make themselves more streamlined for a buyer, maybe? I don't know. That's just a random hunch, but... I mean, there was a point, do you remember a few years ago when all this started happening that I was told by someone very connected that all the big publishers could be sold. Like, they specifically mentioned Take-Two to me.
Yep.
Take-Two has since taken steps to remain independent.
Well, it's interesting because EA's recently talked about their desire to acquire and not be acquired, right?
Yeah.
And now you hear this, and it's like, whoa, they're lying, bro.
Yeah, they're lying, bro. Well, that's the thing. Do you remember when I said Bungie was looking for a buyer, and then the CEO came out and said, we're not looking for a buyer? And then a few months later, they're bought by Sony.
I remember when Ted Price was like, we value our independence, until Sony dropped the bag at their doorstep. And then so much for valuing their independence.
Yeah.
ZFG Gaming says, Jez, playing devil's advocate, do you think Starfield was ever coming in 2022?
I don't think they'd announce a launch date if they weren't sure. I think they just were maybe overambitious with it. Maybe they ran into unforeseen circumstances. I don't know. Maybe they thought cutting the PlayStation version would bring up their development timeline or something. Maybe it's something like that. But I don't think they did it maliciously, or I don't think they were lying.
Yeah.
Because look at the drama it's caused from lying, if they had lied.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think they lied.
I think when they made that call last year to date it, I think they thought they could make it. I mean, hell, Todd Howard's like, this date's written in pen, not pencil, or whatever. I think they thought they could make it, and then issues popped up, and they just couldn't. You know, they were working on like Creation Engine 2 or whatever. Maybe that caused some issues. You know. But yeah, I think they thought for sure it was coming, and then it just didn't, man. Needed to be delayed. Polo says, guys, do you think Techland's new game could be an Xbox exclusive? Yeah, supposedly they're working on like a new open world RPG of some kind, fantasy RPG.
Who's this?
Techland.
Sorry. Oh yeah, Techland. Yeah, they announced, they showed us some concept art for like a sort of, it looked like a sort of fantasy landscape with overgrown temples and stuff. Looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just hope it's not Dying Light with a different skin. But I guess we'll wait and see.
I mean, I don't think it's tough to say, but more than likely to be multi-plat unless somebody grabs like timed exclusivity on it.
Yeah.
Ulfric Stormcloak says, "Did you see the new gameplay trailer for Fallout London? Bethesda should look at hiring them." I have not.
I did not.
Is there a Fallout London game, Jez?
Yeah, it's like a massive DLC sized mod that's been in development for a really long time. So it's cool to see that it's like actually come to fruition. A lot of these mod projects just never end up being released, but it's funny because we were talking about whether the Fallout should be set in London or Chicago, right?
Chicago.
I guess Britain beat you there, right?
Yeah. John says, Jez, there's a new job listing that suggests the Coalition is hiring for a motion capture technician for Gears. Do you think Gears 6 could be announced at the showcase in addition to their new IP?
I mean, it's kind of like, I think this. God, what the hell is that? Mosquito. Christ. Sorry, I got attacked by a giant mosquito. I do think this is kind of like the time to, if you are hiring for, to grow your team, probably announcing a CGI trailer and dropping "we're hiring" on Twitter right afterwards. I mean, that's probably the way to do it. Maybe they do CGI for Gears 6 and then show gameplay for their next smaller game. I could see that because we have been, how many years out from Gears 5 now? 2 years? 3 years? 2 years. How many years, Rand?
2019 was when it came out, so this will be 3 years this fall.
Shit. Yeah, maybe. But then if they're moving to Unreal 5, like maybe it's, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of interesting because we've gotten to this point where before you could announce a gameplay trailer and then it would be okay for the game to come out a year or two later. Like, how many years between like the Division gameplay trailer and then the launch? It was like what, 4 years or something? 3 years? It was a lot. It was a few years at least. So back in the day you could do that, but nowadays people just like, they're kind of fed up of that.
Well, I mean, Coalition themselves said it would be a while before they would announce anything. I think they said
that last year?
I think that was last year. So
a year's a while.
A year's a while. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when I'm expecting Gear 6, 2025. I guess it depends on whenever this next project comes out. If this next project comes out next year, then maybe another 2 years, maybe 2025 for Gear 6. I guess it all really depends. I don't know. Let's see what else we got here. Justin says, one of the developers working for an unannounced Xbox Game Studios project may have confirmed a new Crackdown game.
Yeah, I saw this, like a bunch of like LinkedIn employees who worked on Crackdown are all suddenly working on a mysterious new project, and people have decided it must be Crackdown. I don't think it's Crackdown. I think they're all just working on a different game. Microsoft has like an internal team of people who sort of, they work on all kinds of projects at Microsoft. Like Joseph Staten, for example, he produced a load of games for Microsoft before he went back to Halo. Like he produced Recall, for example. I believe he even contributed to like Gears
He
and
worked
Age of
on
Empires and
Crackdown
stuff.
3 as well.
Yeah, Crackdown 3. A lot of these companies, contribute to loads of different things. Like, I can't remember his name. It's Jorg or something. I can't remember his name. But he worked on like Minecraft Dungeons. He worked on Age of Empires. He worked on Crackdown as well. He worked on Recore as well, I think. So a lot of Microsoft's internal producers, they work across like a bunch of different games. I don't think this means Crackdown is coming. I mean, do you agree with me, Rand? Do you think we'll ever see Crackdown again?
I don't think Crackdown's coming back. I think it has a lot of baggage tied around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
There's other things you can do than Crackdown. Like it was a one game wonder essentially. That first game was really good. Second game not so much. Third game, it just wasn't good either. So. Obi-Wan Cannoli 77 says, "Big Xbox fan, but do you think it's possible that Xbox postponed Starfield so it didn't have to compete against Elden Ring? Happy catching y'all live." He said postpone Stanfield. No, I think there's plenty of distance between Elden Ring in February and Starfield in November. I know the allure of conspiracy theories, right? Where you're looking for meaning. Or deeper meaning into something, which is why we talked a little bit earlier about Everborn saying that they delayed it so the acquisition can go through faster. I think the simplest explanation is usually the right one. The game wasn't going to be ready, and they knew it wasn't going to be ready. And they didn't want to launch what essentially would be the new Cyberpunk. So they delayed the game. I think that's the simplest explanation, and I think it also happens to be the right one. Let's see. Kizu wants to know if Project Midnight is going to slip in at the end of this year. I would say no, and that probably 0% that happens, right, Jez?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think we see that.
Yeah. What else we got here? Lionel says, "Do you think Project Cobalt and Project Midnight are at the Xbox Bethesda showcase?" Possibly Project Midnight. I doubt Project Cobalt is.
I think we could get some CGI. I know that people have complained about like I don't want to see CGI. I don't want to see CGI. But honestly, I think it's okay to announce a game with CGI. As long as it remains true to what the finished project will be like. Don't like release a super hyper photorealistic CGI trailer if your graphics are like going to be like Borderlands or something. Or like don't tease gameplay elements that ultimately don't exist in the finished product. A lot of people accused the Division of downscaling and stuff like that because like the original trailer was CGI but very gameplay like CGI. So I think the right kind of CGI is okay to announce a game. So is there a chance they could announce Cobalt with CGI just to get the name out there and start the hiring process? Get ahead of leaks like asshole leakers like me. I think so, but who knows?
Yeah. Gary wants to know if we think Mixer will ever get revived, especially if the Activision Blizzard deal goes through. No.
What was the question?
If Mixer will ever get revived.
God, I was wondering the other day, like, what would it look like if Microsoft had spent $70 billion on Mixer instead of Activision Blizzard?
Dr.
Sorry, go on.
Dr. Dinglenut says, "Any chance of a Starfield beta or demo at the end of the year? Maybe for Game Pass subscribers."
I don't think so. They haven't really done that before for a single player game. They do that for multiplayer games to test things and run servers and make sure everything's running okay, but I don't think they'll do that for a single player game. Do you, Rand?
No, I don't see a demo for that. No.
No.
Brad wants to know if I'm going to do a live reaction for the showcase. Probably. I'll probably do what I did last year where I stream the showcase live for you guys. And then me and Jez might do a show on Monday. And then probably a community show Friday. We might do that same thing again where the Friday before we'll have a community show with some people and just hype up the showcase like we did last year. Remember what we did last year, Jez?
Yeah. We'll do that. What do we call it? I don't know.
I forget.
They
But
call it Xbox 2 Multiverse.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. Horizon says he doesn't think Xbox would let Killer Instinct die just like that. Well, Jez says,
I don't think they want it to die. Like Phil's literally come out and said that they want to do something with it. I just don't think there's a developer out there that makes sense for the game at the moment. You know, I think Microsoft wants to do it. I just don't think the developer support is there. But I could be wrong. Like maybe it is in development. Maybe that vague rumor I had about Bandai Namco being involved was true. You know, but I just kind of don't believe it. That's all.
yeah. Flash Gordon says Microsoft could buy Sony. Problem solved. Yeah, somehow I think that would be blocked if that was the case. Kojima says, what's the first game that will use mesh shaders? No idea. You're asking the wrong people about mesh shaders. I don't know.
That's a
anything
dealer
about
question,
that.
right?
Or cold question or somebody. Yeah. Yeah. What else we got here? Lord Axel says, what about Scalebound? The Xbox.
What about Scalebound?
Yeah, what about Scalebound?
It's never going away.
Yeah.
Schrodinger's game.
Anyways, that looks like that's everything. The One Bad Mother says Xbox 2 Metaverse. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's the end of the show. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out, and we will be back next week for another episode. Hopefully there's some good things to talk about. And until then, well, you guys have a great weekend and keep it gaming. Later, everyone.